So, on to this week's Street Talk then. We had big week last week with the stabbing and all the aftermath of that. It was never going to be quite as hit the highs of last week, but I quite enjoyed Corrie this week, actually. It started off, there were many things about Monday's episode which were just horrifically wrong and terrible. But, Wednesdays came along with all the stuff with Bethany and Daisy and Cassie, and from there I quite enjoyed it. Even the trial on Friday, which we'd known as coming up and I've been kind of dreading because it was going to mean more Lauren scenes, actually was quite fun, wasn't it? Enjoyed the trial scenes. Enjoy this week's Corrie, Gemma?
I liked the her brief.
The brief. Yes,
she reminded me of Martha Longhurst.
Yeah, we put something out, or you put something on social media about that, didn't you? Lauren's brief, bore a very uncanny resemblance in
really
appearance
did.
and characteristics.
When she wasn't
Longhurst.
in her wig, she looked very different. Like when she spoke to Lauren after the case, I was like, oh, I can't see it anymore. But when she had, because she's got the wig, which kind of like stands in for her Martha's beret.
Yeah. And
she had the same kind of thick black rimmed glasses and like the lips and her expressions too, because Martha was very smug and a bit bitchy, and this is certainly how you could describe her lawyer.
I don't know how long this trial's going to go on for. You can never tell on Corrie, can you? Sometimes it's over and done in a day or two. Like Toya's didn't seem to last very long at all.
Sham trial.
So that very much of a sham trial. And other times they can go on for weeks. And I kind of want this to last just so that we get to see a bit more of... Actually, well, even the prosecution, he was pretty fun as well, wasn't he?
I do like bitchy lawyers.
They were just, bitching back and forth at each other. And
snarky, bitchy.
Yeah,
maybe
and Lauren
I should be a lawyer.
had to stay quiet. So it was perfect all the way around. But
I'm starting to worry that maybe we picked up on something that's not going to happen at Christmas.
What?
With Abby reacting to Toya and Leanne's argument and Leanne blurting out about the car crash.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's going to go anywhere.
I think it still will. I don't think they'd have put that in otherwise.
Really?
Abby's going nuts at the moment. And she, after Toya saved or abducted, one or the other, Alfie last week, I think that
really
definitely puts her in.
Somewhere. I'm just getting concerned now.
Well, but what do you want to happen, though?
I don't know.
That's all. Like, do we want Toya to be retried or sent down or come to some sticky end because she just, in a moment of madness, ran into a wall and killed him? Not really, but it was just an utterly ridiculous story beat. And in some ways, I hate that there's been put under the carpet. In other ways, it's like, well, no, it's probably best there and forgotten about.
I would like them to have not brought it up if they're not going to do anything with it.
Well, I think they will. What stories have we got coming up this week, Gemma? Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, just tell me.
Just tell you. Right, we can start off with the Daisy's blooming story. She's still blooming well pregnant. And up next, we've got Our Kids Kidney Needed. So all the adventures with Carla and Lisa and Rob and Bobby. Breakdown Mechanic, new storyline title for the week, Gemma. That is Abby. She's having, like I said, she's not doing too well in the head at the moment. I was looking for other storyline titles with this. To kind of relate to Kevin as well and his ailments. So we were going to at one point call this Grease Monkey Nuts as a reference to his nuts, which are going to be the focal point for that particular story after that Abby's discussion has been parted. I also came up with Abby Balls and Kevin's Balls. That's basically some of what happened in this time. That's getting a bit of a smile. To think about that one, didn't you? Then we have got the Mason story, which was surprisingly low-key this week, wasn't it? We had a bit on Monday with Dylan, and people have kind of forgotten about Mason after supposedly being sad last week.
Do you think he's going to even have a funeral? I think so now.
They were talking about it. Well, if they are, it's got to happen soon. So maybe it's next week. Maybe people who've seen the spoiler pictures know. I've got no idea. But yeah, the fact that there were characters talking about him having a funeral and who's going to contribute to this and that makes me think that they'll probably do something. Next up, we will have the Lauren trial, or as I call it, the battered briefcase.
I heard that one already.
You've heard that one already. I told you that one last night, yeah.
And I laughed. You should have saved it.
But how many times was he battered, this brief? 2, 3, 1, 10? Who knows? That pathologist, I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. Oh, I'll tell you what, if Lauren gets off because he miscounted the number of bumps on the noggin that Joel got, I'm not going to be happy with him. I'm going to be having words. Then we have...
He's there going, well, I saw a video and he was clearly in a body bag floating down the river.
That would have been funny.
And the
if
judge
they'd
is
have brought
like,
that
oh,
up.
this is new information. We've got to
It says in your
investigate."
original report that he was wrapped up in plastic, and you've not investigated that
Your
at
Honour, I realised he was just wearing a longer coat in death than he had in life.
all. I saw somebody, I can't remember whether it was on Twitter or Reddit or somewhere last night, somebody yet again bringing up, hang on a minute, I'm really confused. Wasn't John found in a
Me
body
too,
bag?
I saw the same one. It's like this, you really messed this
Guy
up.
screwed up. They screwed right up with that one, didn't they? But oh well, let's just forget about it, shall we? There was a little bit of Leanne stuff at the end of the episode of this week as well, so we'll chat about that at the end. Not that there's a whole lot to say, but it was very delicious if you're a fan of snarky Leanne, which, as you know, we are. Do you want me to take the lead and the daisies blooming story?
Yeah.
I can do this one. So she's still up the duff, and Daniel and Bethany are still loved up and apparently going to be getting married at some point this year. So first time Daniel and Sinead got married, they were in the Victoria Gardens, weren't they? And he's thinking of something equally alternative this time, with a forest wedding plan possibly. Well, Bethany would rather have something a bit more traditional, but Daniel wanting to get married in a forest under the trees.
I mean,
even for him, I think that's a bit unusual. I would have thought that he'd like go to Stratford upon Avon. Can you get married in Shakespeare's birthplace? Because Daniel would love that.
you can't get married in a forest in this country.
So
You can have a ceremony that's not legally binding. Is
wrap a
this
bit
his
of
way
vine round you.
Is this his way of telling Bethany that he actually doesn't want to marry her?
This is
at
him
all?
keeping his options open, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be snobby here. Like, literally, there are only a very few number of legally binding ceremonies that are acceptable to, like, as a Muslim, you cannot get married in a mosque. What makes him think you can get married in a forest? You can't.
You can have a ceremony, can't you?
You
I
can-
assume he wants to
You
just
can
have
have a reception in the forest and get married in a church.
Yeah,
or...
no, you can have it. He's not going to go to church, is he? He
Or
just
a
wants to have a
register
blessing,
office.
doesn't he? He wants a blessing there and go the traditional
I-
Weatherfield route of getting married
And
in
to
the
be
bistro.
clear, I think that legally it should be open and people should be able to do this kind of stuff. But it just kind of annoys me that Coronation Street keeps kind of trying to make out that these things.
I don't think they
weddings,
do.
they're
Even
not.
even when Daniel and Sinead got married in Victoria Gardens, they didn't
Get married.
No, I know.
I know,
Guys.
but no. Listen, I'm sorry. Words mean things.
They had their ceremony, which to them, in their ways, meant that they were married. And then a year later, they got married again, didn't they? And that's when Sinead found a lump
But
on her
I'm
neck.
arguing that people should be able to do this, but telling people that you can is wrong.
I think you're taking it.
I know. It gets on my nerves.
It's getting on your goat. They'll get married somewhere. They'll have a proper ceremony. I do genuinely.
But why
I
did
don't
he
mind.
say we could have a reception in the forest? That's what you say. You don't say let's get married in the forest.
I don't know what he said. Stop
I
spoiling
don't like
the moment.
Daniel.
Don't stop rain on his parade, Gemma.
Well, if he has a forest wedding, it's quite likely he'll be rained on.
Yeah, depends what time of the year it is, isn't it? But who knows? But Bethany doesn't like it anyway. She wants to, as I say, go to the traditional route, bistro or speed
Well, this is
dial.
another example of them not actually being on the same page about what it is they want and their future or anything.
Quite. So the conversation is abruptly halted when Bethany gets a quite shocking message that she gets, and I do like Lucy Fallon's kind of like deer in a headlight expressions that she gives sometimes, like, or the whoops, I've made a silly mistake, and this is like, oh, something's happened here that I don't think Daniel's going to know so I'm going to keep it to myself for a little bit later. Next thing, we got Daniel coming into the shop trying to find, he finds Daisy there. She's crouching on the floor, nearly being sick in a bag, isn't she? She's still trying to keep it hidden that she's got a little Daisy in her tummy and sprouting away there. And he's like, what are you doing on the floor? He doesn't notice that she's going to be sick, does she? I can't remember what she
Daniel
says
wouldn't
to get
notice
out of it.
anything if it didn't involve him.
No, his head's in the clouds. She manages to get up. They have a chat about Bertie's upcoming birthday party on Wednesday. It looks like Daniel's not got him the cake that he wanted. And Daisy's like, well, look, it's fine, I'll go and get it. Is Neutron Man a thing? Or is it a Weatherfield invention? I'm not up on my superheroes.
This was just so typical of
Is
Daniel.
it like Radioactive Man? Is it like not really real?
As a dad, though.
Why?
Like, he doesn't care. Like, it doesn't matter if it's not the right cake.
I don't know. I think that since Daniel's, a single father, as good as I know there's been the old woman flighting in and out of his life since Sinead popped her clogs, I think that he does care about Daniel. It's
Bertie,
sorry. He definitely cares about Daniel. Daniel's the number one person in Daniel's life. So I would have thought that he would have
flippantly say, I don't care about my son on his birthday, I'm not going to bother getting him the cake he wants. But it's so trivial. Daisy managed to get the cake.
Yeah, I think that it was more just a plot device to get
Daniel's
Daisy
just
involved and annoy Bethany.
Why are you defending him? Yes, on paper he's a single father, but he's not had to raise that child himself. He keeps pawning him off on everyone else.
He's a very, very busy teacher, Gemma, isn't he? He hasn't got time for things like that. He's marking those prisoners' literacy books or whatever he does.
I don't rate him as a father, as a husband, as a boyfriend, or indeed as a man.
Terrible. But he's just great to watch. Some people I do
love
some
him.
People say I hate Daniel. I really
is.
Can't stand watching him. It's like I love watching him when he's like this.
He's another one of these characters where I'm not quite sure whether it's purposeful or not. Like Kate, how she was like she had single she had what's it called? Only child syndrome.
Yeah.
And she was completely spoiled by her dad, even though she did have a brother.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, that's what I mean. She acted like she was a single child, only child, and she was just so selfish and self-absorbed and like oblivious to everything. And I think at the end, Coronation Street cottoned on to what they had done to her. But with Daniel, like, is he supposed to be quite so stupid and
I
pompous?
think so. I think he.
I don't know.
He's Ken Barlow's son.
But this stuff about him not bothering with the cake.
Speaking of Kate, have you seen the fan rumours and theories going around at the moment that she could well be brought back to plop out a kidney? She's a match. Back in 2018 when Carla needed another kidney, Kate was tested positive, but Aidan said, no, have mine.
Let's get to the stupidity around the kidney stuff later on.
Yeah, Gemma, that's another thing that you got a real bit in your bonnet about, isn't it? But that's ages till we come to that. So, Sarah's flat later, you got Bethany telling Sarah, I got some news. I can barely bring myself to say it. I've been headhunted by a top magazine in London. It's the same excuse they used when Bethany went off on Lucy Fallon's maternity leave last time.
Why did she get fired though? Didn't she lose her job? Didn't she get sacked for some kind of gross misconduct or something? I
can't remember what
because
it was.
Because she came back and she was acting all cagey and pretending that she still had a job but she didn't. And what she's done since, literally, the only time she's mentioned it was writing an article about air fryers, and I'm always going to give her crap about it, because she came in, like, everyone's supposed to act like she's the next coming of, like, I don't know, some amazing...
Gemma Cox.
No, don't.
World-renowned journalist. Are there any famous journalists?
No, there are no famous journalists.
No, magazine journalists.
No, literally none of them.
Oh well.
They all use fake names.
Pick their own career.
It's all one person. but like she came in like she was God's gift to journalism, and she's done nothing, and now she's being headhunted. Like, why? They have people in London, you know.
Yeah. I don't buy it whatsoever, but...
And she could still work remotely. I'm sure in London they're like, we need somebody who understands the Northerners. Have you got anyone in our books who can speak Mancunian? And they're like, oh yeah, this is Goer's written about grooming gangs. Oh, grooming gangs, they're in the news. Why don't we get her to report on those?
Oh yeah, it's a little bit of a contrivance, but
it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah. Anyway, Daisy...
everything to do with her career is ridiculous. And
I just can't buy that she's an amazing...
She's not.
Auteur.
But I don't understand how it's so stupid, because everybody on the writing team's a writer. Mm. They know how it works.
I know.
You don't get headhunted by London.
No.
For a top magazine. What do you mean, top magazine? What, top shelf magazine? What's she got to get her backs out?
Well, you know, with her bag, I'm sure there's people that'd be...
No.
Maybe. Look, later on we got Daisy checking out how Bethany's doing in the pub with her stoma and everything. She's being very pleasant, saying, how's your bag doing? Bethany says, fine. Well, actually, I've been headhunted by this great magazine in London, actually, so my life is better than fine. And Daisy...
She means better than yours.
Basically, she's having a bit of a...
Smile.
Yeah, a bit of a smile about it. And Daisy soon realises, though, that Bethany has not yet told Daniel this news.
How much money does she... Honestly, how much money could she possibly be on being headhunted to be a writer? She hasn't even said she's doing anything on the editorial team. It's not going to be enough money to even rent anywhere. She's going to have to live in a hovel with a bunch of other people in London. She will.
Sometimes you've got to slum it to get the job of your dreams.
But this is the job of her dreams.
Right. Anyway, look. So you got Daisy.
I remember when I did my university degree, a girl I was with, she went to go work for 2 weeks to a top magazine in London. I won't say which one. She basically spent 2 weeks working in a cupboard, organising the clothes and sending them back to people that they'd rented them from for photo shoots.
I can't remember whether I've written down. Yeah, Ascend Trend. That's the name of the magazine that offering Bethany. I think that they've said they're a top magazine, and Bethany's too embarrassed to admit she's never heard of them.
It sounds like a dodgy Instagram account that just like reposts AI pictures of people's front rooms.
Yeah. Well, Bethany goes home and tells Daniel this news. Oh no, she tells him in the cafe, doesn't she? And he's this is Daniel at his best.
I know.
He's like, oh, well done. I'm so proud of you. Such a shame the timing stinks though, eh? Never mind. Maybe in another life, eh? Like, he doesn't even consider the chance that maybe she might want to take this job, you know. She's going to marry him now. He's the provider.
He's
she
like,
doesn't
I'm already
need any
living my dream.
Top city jobs.
We can't leave my dream career of teaching criminals how to spot rhyming stanzas.
That's all we do, yeah. That's all us teachers do.
That's all he seems to do.
And then Daisy, Bethany's like, oh, because she'd really got excited about this news.
Well, she was like,
I'm sure that there are prisoners
to
teach in London, Daniel.
I bet there's loads of prisoners in London.
And then Daisy texts about the cake to make things even worse. So Bethany is feeling mightily peed off by Daniel's lack of attention to her. And she has every right to be.
Well, because Daisy's very well demonstrating her ability to Daniel as being a good provider for his child. And Bethany has not got that going for her at all. She's not interested in children. She's already said she doesn't want to have kids of her own. And so she feels insecure because of how good Daisy is and how thoughtful she is.
Well, this all comes out.
And this is undermining
on Wednesday,
her on two different fronts. Like, her career and her personal life, just in one scene, is completely crapped all over by Daisy and Daniel.
Yeah. So Bethany later tells Sarah what's been going on, and she can't believe what Daniel reacted to this like as well. Bethany says, look, maybe I should have thought about it more before telling him, and then she blames Daisy for encouraging her by saying, oh, what's that? You haven't told Daniel yet. And she knew that Daniel would react badly, and Daisy says, no, I didn't. But Betty's like, oh, you've ruined things for me. Storm out the pub, and presumably goes home to plot how she can
you didn't
take over Wednesday's birthday party for Bertie.
You didn't make it clear, but this was a conversation in the pub where Daisy was there.
I didn't make it clear because
and Daisy then gets accused of sabotaging her on purpose, which is clearly not her. Like, you don't have to sabotage this relationship on purpose. It's clearly doomed from the start.
It's so doomed. It's so doomed. But I think... Does Daisy realise it's doomed? Is she just biding her time? Because she is looking a bit miserable when she sees them together. But maybe if I was her, I'd just let it all play out.
Bethany really should be headhunted by a top London magazine to write a story about my toxic boyfriend.
Yeah. Maybe Daisy is actually Ascend Trend. And she's offered Bethany a job, and she's going to turn up at the offices and go...
Oh, it's fake.
Yeah.
This is a Costa.
Get back to Weatherfield. By then, she's already in Daniel's pants. Yeah. Wednesday rolls along, and it's Bertie's birthday. Happy Bertie Day. What was he, 6, was he, I think? Yeah. He and Daniel, because nobody seemed to be at work at Wednesday for whatever reason.
I always take the day off if I'm invited to a child's birthday party.
Exactly. He and Daniel
You've got to start drinking early, haven't you?
He and Daniel go to number 1. Craig wasn't there. He's tangentially related. Was Kit there, I think? There was Daisy.
Kirk was there.
Kirk was there used to be married to Beth, who was Sinead's aunt, who was...
It's like his nephew.
Bertie's mum. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. But yeah, poor Craigie couldn't get the time off work apparently. But everyone else was there.
Well, no, because Kit's like, you're not taking time off. I'm going to this party.
So he and Daniel go to number 1 for this happy birthday from Ken. And then Bertie sees Cassie's there. So this is when the story... melds quite nicely, I'm going to say, with the poisoning story, which I didn't expect to see coming at all, but it fit really nicely, didn't it?
Yes.
We've said in the past few weeks there's been a bit more merging and interweaving of stories, and for the time that doesn't seem to be slowing down. I thought this was a really natural evolution of both stories, really, and combination of the two of them. So anyway, Bertie's there seeing Cassie putting this medicine in his tea or whatever it was, and she says, this is just medicine for Grandad. He doesn't want anyone else to know about it. It's going to be our little secret, and gives him a fist bump. And clearly the little actor playing Bertie doesn't know how to give a fist bump, because Claire Sweeney was giving it all sort of...
You don't know how to do a fist bump.
I knew that you would bring out that story. I did... no, we don't need to hear that story again, if you've already heard it. My lack of fist bump knowledge.
No, we won't go back into it.
Anyway, Bethany is not impressed with this cake that Daisy's got Bertie. Not impressed that it's a bit of a rubbish cake, but it was an awesome cake. It was like,
well, she's just mad.
In the shape of an N, and it's red, and it's
she's
pretty cool.
Sorry that my
bolts.
cake wasn't good enough.
Yeah, and Daniel says, look, Bethany, don't get mad about this. Everyone's chipped in. It's not just Daisy that's saving the day here. Just relax. I don't think Bethany has contributed anything to this party so far.
I thought...
Did she? Did she do something?
I don't.
Why didn't she use her amazing writing skills? Did she even get Daniel to write the card for her, probably?
Yeah, write a short story. Make him a children's book.
Yeah.
Bertie's Special Magic Adventures with the secret medicine.
Because, seriously, when was the last time she did any form of journalism?
She sits with her laptop open in the pub. What more do you want from her?
Cassie brings Bertie a bulldozer. This was a funny little subplot, and I kind of meant to look this up. So apparently it's a bulldozer that's been sitting in the window of the cabin for 25 years, because Kirk's like, that's been living on this street longer than I have. And it did look a little bit faded, the cardboards, but I don't know. So some cleverer people than me out there probably know whether that has been part of the cabin set. I'm really sure that
I did recognise it as something that... Because the thing about the cabin is it is a bit of a joke, because that window hasn't changed for years, has it?
No. I mean, Rita's not as sprightly as she once was, is she? Although,
no.
It's bright.
Well, they do change it.
They change out the displays for Halloween and Father's Day and stuff, don't they? But yeah, the little side story that went off with that with Kirk. What did he do? Try to buy the truck off of Bertie or something, didn't he?
He's like, I'm jealous. I've wanted this for ages.
Silly man. So anyway, Bertie is just looking upset because he's been burdened with this terrible secret that Cassie was putting something in Grandad's tea, and he goes and tells Daisy, because Bertie and Daisy they're dead close, those two, and he's like, she wanted me to keep it a secret. So Daisy goes to speak to Daniel later about what went on. Cassie's kind of realising at this point, I think, that, well, she's going to be feeling a little bit, this could come out at any moment. So she goes and interrupts the pair of them, Daniel and Daisy, with some champagne, which Daisy has to refuse because she's got a bun in the oven. And she says she's on tablets. But then Cassie then goes and stirs things up a little bit with Bethany by telling her that the pair of them are gabbing away in the hall, thick as thieves. And Bethany's like, I'm swooping in there and putting an end to that. Thank you very much. She manages to get there, but it's after Daniel has heard from Daisy the story about the medicine in the tea, and he's very cynical about it. I thought that Daniel's reaction was a little bit chill about it, the fact that he didn't believe it at all. Did you?
What, that there was medicine in the tea?
Well, no, he didn't seem to think... He either didn't believe it or didn't think it was anything. I think I would be taking it a bit more seriously.
I don't think I would.
No?
No, because I would believe that it was real. Why would you imagine that Cassie's poisoning your dad? I just think that there would be an element of suspicion. And children say strange things all the time, don't they?
But he didn't really even go and investigate, did he? If it was me and I'd been told that, I might at least go to Cassie and say,
what was it?
What was that you were putting in my dad's tea? Or even go to Ken and say, what's she been putting in your tea then? Are you all right?
Okay.
But anyway, that's...
I believe it.
Fine, fair enough.
This is also a man who couldn't be bothered to even work out what kind of cake his kid wanted. Why would he listen to him about anything?
Okay. Well, Bethany comes along and she's kind of puts an end to that conversation anyway. She later in the party decides, I've not been making that much of a contribution later, but there's one thing that I can do, and it's cutting a cake. And
really
it was really silly. Yeah, she is a little bit, isn't she? It was silly, and I saw some people online not really enjoying this, but I thought it was kind of funny seeing Bethany attempting to cut the cake and everyone was shouting instructions because it's not a round cake, and she didn't know. This was kind of funny. This is what people are like as well. I was like, I'm doing it. You don't need to help me. Yeah. Well, she had everyone in the room watching her. She did one slice that was all icing, and Kirk's like, "Oh, I love icing, me." And Daisy's there kind of needling her from the side. Basically, she makes a bit of a hash job of it, ends in a tussle with Daisy. Daisy falls backwards over the digger, spraining her ankle, and Bethany ends up with blood spurting out of her hand. So Daisy has to go off to the to A&E to sort her foot out, and basically the party's kind of over after that part. Well done, Bethany. Enjoy that stuff? Enjoy the slapstick larks of Bethany Platt?
I'm going to blame Daniel again. Why would you invite your ex-girlfriend and your girlfriend to your child's party knowing that they are so immature and one of them's completely drunk?
I think, no, I don't know. I think that
This
it was
was
fair
so
enough that both
obvious
of them
that
were
they
there.
were going to have a fight.
He's seen them sparring in the cafe and in the pub, I'm sure, but I think they did both have a right to be there.
If he had bought the right cake in the first place, Daisy wouldn't have had to even be there. She's only there because she bought the cake.
Yeah,
He needs to.
But she is the kind of. I don't know. She's close to Bertie. He doesn't seem to have any child friends, does he?
No, he didn't have any children invited.
No.
It's just like it just shows his poor. He's just bad. He's just a bad person.
Who? Bertie? Is that why he doesn't get any friends?
Terrible. No, Daniel. He's just really bad. I hate everything about him.
So over at A&E, you got Kit and Daniel there, of course, waiting while Daisy's getting her foot checked out. And then they both go in and see her just at the very moment that a nurse is telling her, don't worry, the baby's fine. Shocker. Again,
What baby?
I enjoyed that reveal. I went into Wednesday's episode with no idea what was going to happen, and actually a fair amount did in this story. And I didn't particularly mind the contrivances that were fabricated to get to this position as well. I've seen some people saying, "Oh, what are the chances of the two of them going into the room just at the moment that they're being told?" And I'm the first person to moan about that with all the other coincidences that go on. But this didn't really bother me because I was more excited about the juice that had just been set loose. What did you think?
I thought it would have been more fun if they had both known they were candidates for being the baby's father, but they didn't, did they?
Well, no, I think that's more exciting because the stories. There's still, not everybody knows everything at the moment, and there's more bombshells to come. I didn't mind that they're eking out the revelations here.
She just doesn't need to do. I know she wants to do a DNA test, but just has to see if the baby comes out very long.
Very long baby.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel's, he's no midget, is he?
He's not as long as Longshanks, is he?
I don't know. I don't.
Have you seen them together?
Yeah, I know that Kit's pretty. We are talking about height and not other appendages. Thank you very much.
It could be a girl.
No, I thought you were just talking about Daniel and.
The baby is going to be long or short. If it's long, it's Kit's baby, and if it's short, it's Daniel's baby.
Daniel is not short.
Case closed.
Daniel's not short.
End of television show. Shut the show down. I've solved every mystery.
Speaking of short, there was a funny bit on. I told you this the other day on the Sofa podcast this week, and I'm trying to avoid speaking about something, but basically, Barbara Knox referred to Jack P. Shepard as the short one, which is quite
She can
funny.
Talk.
Why?
Isn't she quite? She's
fairly petite, isn't
fairly
she?
efficiently sized, isn't she?
Efficiently sized. That's a nice way of putting it. Just like Kevin.
Efficiency actor, that's what they are.
Yeah.
Anyway. Coronation Street, once they work out they can pay them by the meter, I tell you what, a few people are definitely going to get the bin.
Right, so we got Daniel is kind of making a fairly hasty exit at this point because
well, he's like,
he knows that it could be either
and that
of them.
and Kit doesn't.
But Kit doesn't, yeah. So he makes a hasty exit.
Kit thinks
saying he has
it's
to
clearly his child.
Yeah, and he doesn't like that as the episode goes on.
Doesn't.
So back at the party, we've got Cassie spreading the gossip about Daisy and Daniel and Bethany with Kirk and Bobby. Oh no, this is at the cafe later because it has all just completely ended, hasn't it? So she thinks it's amazing that she's kind of uncovered this love triangle there. She actually calls it a love triangle at the end of the episode, doesn't she? During the confrontation, she knows she's in a soap.
She knows.
Does anybody call a love triangle in real life? Or is that purely for fiction?
She's poisoning Ken because she's like, I need a story. I've got to get a story somehow.
I'm surprised she didn't just say, "Who's the daddy?" at the end of it, just to get in all the soap cliches.
Yeah.
So Kit later on,
Christmas.
Kit sits down with Daisy and says, "Look, is the baby mine? I assume it is." She straight away says, "Yeah, it is." I don't think she had much opportunity to think about that one, But what else
Well, it
could
could
she
be,
have done?
couldn't it? It could be, so she's not going to rule it out at this point.
Yeah.
She'd be dumb to say anything else at this point.
Yeah, I guess so. She's like, I just wanted to keep it quiet until the 12-week scan, to be honest. Back at the Osborne flat, Bethany has got a bandage on her finger. She's chatting away with Daniel, and he's telling her about this medicine secret, and now maybe he is a little bit more worried about it. Kit's having... Oh, yeah, then we had that scene with Kit and Billy in Speed Dial.
And I was like, why
had
are
to
they...
have a little bit of a think about what they've got to
Why
do
are
with
they
each
together?
other. I mean, and then it was like, oh yeah, Paul. He's the common link there, isn't he? But I can't imagine that the pair of them would really have that much in common afterwards.
I don't think that Kit would be that bothered about.
No.
Maybe Billy would. Maybe I think it would be Billy that was, extending the olive branch. But I thought he was terribly busy with all of his new unpaid vicaring jobs.
Clearly not.
Well, he said he couldn't do Mason's funeral, didn't he? And then he changed his mind.
But he wasn't that. He just didn't want to do the funeral, did he? He's like, I've done my last funeral.
Well, he's
buried
busy.
my last body, officially at least on the record. Daisy and Daniel later are having hushed conversations about this baby in the ginnel later. This is a really great... It feels like ages since we had a proper ginnel gossip scene.
Yeah, more please.
It's always... everything seems to happen at the precinct these days or down Victoria Street. But this is a really nicely shot because they had the camera up in one of the windows, it looked like, looking down on them. And it was great. It was proper old school Corrie... Ginnell gossip. It was fantastic. She admits to him that the baby is more likely to be Kit. She's like, statistically speaking. So we now know how many. Well,
no, I don't want to.
She's done it with Kit at least more than once, basically.
Surely it's the timing more than the frequency.
You a doctor.
I am actually. I've decided not to use any of my qualifications for anything except a soap podcast.
Pointing out all the inaccuracies in the plot.
You wait
till
I get started on the kidneys.
There was a funny Daniel's like, I don't know how this happened, and Daisy says, oh, I don't know, but I think it's something to do with having sex.
Wow, you could use that in your sex education class.
Maybe Daniel can invite her in. When it's his turn to do the sex education. Does he have to do that with the prisoners still? Sex education lesson. I'm bringing in a hot girlfriend.
Some of you are in here because clearly somebody skipped consent.
Yeah.
When you were doing your lessons.
Anyway, look, she also admits to Daniel that she's also told Kit that the baby is kind of his. And then Cassie comes out. This was cool because you didn't know at this point how much Cassie has heard. And, that ginnel is prime spot for overhearing gossip. I wondered whether it would be Jenny that might hear as well because it was that end of the street, wasn't it? But no, it was Cassie. What are you all whispering about then? And Daisy's just like, oh, it's just about my ankle. So, we're left at the end of that scene wondering whether Cassie's just suspicious or whether she's heard the whole thing. We find out in the next scene when Cassie starts stirring things in the pub by gossiping to, who was it? Sean was in there, I think, about Daisy being ill and saying, oh, apparently she's just picked up a bug. I liked how offended Sean was at the mere suggestion that she might have picked something up off of him because he's so clean and healthy. How dare she insinuate that he might be contagious? Daisy gets a visit from Kit in the back of the Rovers later, and in another shock twist, he's decided that he can't be a dad. He doesn't want to be a dad. He doesn't want anything to do with children. No way. I'll pay for it as much as you want to, but I am no way having anything to do with this baby's life. Came out of the blue. I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a particularly fatherly type, but you never know, do you? Until you try it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I said, when we did the shorts, I said he took responsibility for the baby, and I meant financially. I didn't mean anything other than that. I don't know, there's a certain amount of maturity in understanding yourself well enough to know that you don't want to have a child or have anything to do with a child.
But I suppose it wasn't just saying, I don't want to have anything to do with a child. It was basically saying, I don't want to have anything to do with you again. Yeah. It was like pouring cold water over any chances of a reunion there.
Well, he's offering to sort of financially support her. I don't know that I would expected anything different from him though, because he just seems like the sort of guy who would totally do this and say this.
Yeah, it's not out of the realms of possibility. But if he did think, well, maybe if I agreed to take on the baby, I might be able to get back in Daisy's bed. So could it be
I don't
worth
think
it?
he's that desperate for women that he's like, I need to
Fighting them off, is
to
he?
be with. Well, he's shagged loads of women. He's only been in the show for like what, a year?
He is very long, isn't he?
He's so long, everyone loves him. But you know, he's saying I can't. I wonder whether there's a reason beyond the obvious. You know, that he just doesn't want. Doesn't have any.
Well, he's had parental issues of his own, hasn't he?
Do you think he's
Abandoned
got
by
some
his own mum.
deep-seated fears that we're going to have to examine about his, worries
Quite
about
possibly, yes.
raising a child? Can't we just have people that are like, don't want a kid? It's interesting also about, we've had two characters in the last, is it 2 weeks or more than that? Bethany saying I don't want children, and now Kit saying the same thing. It's interesting.
Well, maybe when Bethany disappears off to have her Lucy Fallon baby, she can take Kit with her and they can both go and have a childless London life together.
Oh, these dinks with no kids living in London.
Yeah.
It is really interesting because I think that when a woman says I don't want children, everyone kind of like questions her and thinks of all these reasons why she's wrong. But when a man says I don't want a child, I'm not interested, even if he does have a child already, everyone's like, very understandable.
Yeah, exactly. We get the last scene of the episode, which was another great one for me. Daniel going around to number 1 to pick up some bits from the party, and it's just him and Cassie down in the darkened room there. And Cassie's like super smug, saying, "Oh, so, I saw you and Daisy having a bit of a sneaky talk around the back of the ginnel earlier. What was that about then?" And then he catches her off guard
this is good, wasn't it?
by revealing that Bertie saw her putting something into Ken's tea. And Cassie's like, "It's fine, I was just putting sweeteners in there." So that was great how she was able to diffuse it. And then she deflects it right back onto him and says, "I know all about your love triangle and that Daisy's pregnant." So it was a really great shift in the balance of power in the space of about 30 seconds on there. I thought it was fantastic. And she's like, "Oh, don't look so worried. I'm not going to grass you up or anything. Not unless you force me to, of course." And I think now we are full on into the era of Cassie's evil. I don't know. It's surely this is her saying, "Yes, I am a villain.
I'm
actually
at war with you if you stand in my way."
It still doesn't completely make sense because in many ways she is really great for Ken, but that kind of declaration of what are you going to do about it? I'm going to reveal all your secrets if you blab mine. Yeah, great little stalemate at the end there. It's like, which one of the two is more unlikable? They're both, like Daniel, it's like he's supposed to be good, but he's unlikable because of how smug he is. And Cassie's supposed to be unlikable because she's poisoning Ken, but actually she's
so much charisma.
really charismatic and charming.
Here's my question. What happened to Tracy filming in there?
I don't know whether... That's a really good point. I'd forgotten about that. I know she threatened to do it. But did she actually do it? And she is back now, isn't she? She was talking to Leanne on Friday saying, I'm back for the foreseeable or something, so...
I mean, she'd never take Cassie's side over Ken, but I'm just wondering if there's any kind of... Are we creating a League of Evil Coronation Street characters? Because Tracy and Leanne have now bonded over being bitches. Could we see Cassie join their ranks to just like be meddlers, or would it be Daniel that joined to like blackmail Cassie?
I cannot see in any universe Tracy teaming up with Cassie.
No, absolutely not, but it would be brilliant if she did. So I'm just suggesting.
Yeah, so...
They are all... Leanne, Cassie and Tracy are they the most evil female characters on the street at the moment?
Probably at the moment.
I'm trying to think of who's worse. Is anyone worse?
I don't know, maybe we'll come up with a...
I mean, evil in
some may say Toya.
Very cutting. I mean, Toya's also a murderer.
Yeah.
I mean, Leanne did kill Cal by being hesitant about accepting his proposal.
Yeah.
All those years ago.
I mean, the thing is, both secrets are clearly going to come out, aren't they? The question is, whose secret is going to come out first? There's no way these are staying quiet.
And are they going to be revealed by the other person, or is something else going to happen?
Yeah. And which one's going to have the biggest ripple effect? I would imagine it's probably going to be the love triangle one is going to kind of spread more. Yeah, but the fact that Cassie's poisoning Ken, that feels like once that gets revealed, it is game over for her.
I'm really
That's
interested
it.
as to how they're going to resolve this, because it's Cassie and I really like her. I'm like trying to desperately think of excuses why she can get like. Is it going to be a sweep under the rug kind of deal, or what? I don't know.
Ken can be very forgiving.
Ken forgave Daniel for pushing him down the stairs.
But just imagine what Tracy's going to say if she finds out that Daniel knew and didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really bad look for him.
Yeah, that is. Why would you let someone poison your dad?
I know. You're absolutely right, actually.
I wouldn't.
If he knows, if he suspects that something is going on here and he's not saying something just to protect the fact that he once had
once the baby's out, you know, that's his... Well, he doesn't know that the news is getting out because he doesn't realise he's a soap character. But it just goes to show you what an odious person he is, that he's perfectly willing to let somebody carry on poisoning his father. I mean,
well, it's also to protect his relationship with Bethany, which let's be fair, he's not really that into, is he?
No, he's not into her
choosing
at all.
His meh girlfriend over his actual dad.
She's literally his bangmaid. He just wants to have sex with her, and she does the tidying.
I've never heard that expression before. Bangmaid.
This is something that people say quite often on Reddit about men who clearly are not that into their female partners, and they don't give them any respect, and they don't, they don't commit to them in any way.
I think that I don't think it's... I think he's somewhat into Bethany. I just think that his heart is more with Daisy.
Bethany can never shape up to his true only love in his life, which is Daniel. She's not as good at writing as Daniel. She's not as sexy as Daniel.
Not as long as Daniel.
She doesn't have as good poems as Daniel. Daniel could probably write a really good article on air fryers, but nobody's ever asked him.
Oh yeah, he definitely could. So yeah, I think I don't know which one's going to come out.
I can
first,
just imagine
the fact that
Daniel writing an article like, "What would Shakespeare have thought of air fryers?" Write a Shakespearean sonnet about air fryers.
You think you can just get ChatGPT to do that these days, can't you? Maybe you'll do that. Yeah, I think that obviously it's going to have to come out soon with Lucy Fallon's impending maternity leave. This whole thing is going to be blown out the water within weeks, I'd have thought. And I think Daniel's going to be ended up looking pretty stupid and a bit of a bad son at the end of it. But hey, that's what soap's all about. Friday rolls around and you still got a bit more of Daniel and Daisy exchanging glances at the cafe. Daisy's on crutches at this point and she's kind of hobbling around. Kit comes in later and he kind of gives her a cursory how's your ankle doing chat, but it's all pretty awkward and he clearly doesn't want anything to do with her. Daniel, meanwhile, is with Adam in the flat, telling him about what he might have found out about Cassie, and he doesn't, about her drugging Ken. He just doesn't know what to do. Also, Daisy's pregnant, and there's a chance that it could be mine. So that seems to be how the conversation develops. It's like, forget about Ken. I'm more interested in this love triangle, says Adam. But they don't get too far into that conversation because Bethany comes home. Adam makes his excuses and leaves. And the only other thing really that happens in that story on yesterday's episode was Daisy revealing to Jenny that the DNA test has been cancelled because she doesn't want to...
She cancelled it.
She cancelled it, yeah. What did she cancel it for? Is it like, I just don't want to know. Is she burying her head in the sand? I'm just cancelling it for the drama. Gemma, you're holding your phone in a very proud way at the moment. So would you like to read out your Shakespearean sonnet, is it, about air fryers? Go on then.
Oh, wondrous contraption, thou art, modern art, that turns gold to humble spud and grain. With but a breeze thou placed to the chef's proud part, transforming feasts from effort into gain. Thy whispered wind, so hot yet ever kind, doth crisp the skin while tender stays the core. No oils need spill, no smoky fumes can find, yet flavours bloom as ne'er they bloomed before. O foes to oven vast and pans that smoke, thou saviour swift of evenings fraught with haste, in thee the humble cook need never choke, for time and health with thee are never waste. Sing praises, ye who dine on thy delight, the air fryer reigns supreme both day and night.
It's pretty clever, isn't it? Pretty clever.
Don't need to do it.
If you hadn't told me a ChatGPT that, I'd have thought it'd be Will himself that put that one together.
Sounds exactly like what you would say.
Daniel could have definitely done it. I liked, just because it didn't come up in the storyline discussion, the little moment between Daniel and everyone else in the cafe having the discussion about the Civil War. Was it the Civil War? He talks about the Crimean War. Sorry, he's talking about, isn't he? Because they're on about Florence Nightingale, and he's like, which war was it? Who knows? He just can't help being a teacher. We're all like it, really. Anyway, I thought that story was a lot of fun, and I've been enjoying it anyway, but combining the two stories now has made it all the more delicious, almost as if it was air fried.
So crispy.
That was a crisped up story, that was.
Yeah, they crisped that right up.
Did you enjoy it? Is it just me?
It's great.
It's not as into it as me, then.
I don't know. Yeah, let's talk about the next story.
We are allowed to give our opinions on stories on a podcast about a TV show, but if you've got nothing much to share, then I guess we can move on. Maybe you've got more to say about Carla and Lisa.
You really are being a massive teacher at the moment.
What do you think about it? Tell the class your opinion.
Oh, you don't have an opinion? No, maybe you didn't do the work.
Did you actually watch the show this week, Gemma?
I was in the room.
You were
every
in the room.
minute of that.
Right. Come on then. What's been going on with old Carla and her kidney chaos?
Right, kidney chaos indeed. Monday, a guard comes in to see Rob and he gives him a Bible, and he.
Oh yeah, because she's like time for chapel. Was this week the first week it was that we learned about?
No, he talked about it. What, God?
Yeah.
No, he was doing it before.
Oh, maybe he mentioned it a little bit on Friday, but it's odd because it's clearly all an act, but he's seems to be putting in the work to get this ruse together.
Really has laid the foundations for this. It's not just a throwaway idea he thought to con.
No.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Because I think he said that at one scene this week that it was about a year ago that he saw the light. So is this really a long con just in case?
Yeah, what's the benefit to him?
It's almost like he's like, I got a TV guide to hear that Bobby's been made up and he's in the show now, so I'm going to start my escape plan already, because presumably he's going to visit me at some point.
I mean, technically it is possible that he did start this a year ago, which is when Bobby came on the show, because he knew that Bobby was staying with Carla. And he was trying to do some kind of... Not that it makes any sense whatsoever. There's obviously something in it for him. I don't know whether this show... I hope that they've thought about this a bit more than just it's a con.
Well, it seems to all be building up to
the purpose of, getting one over on Carla.
It seems to be building up to an escape plan.
It's really a year.
I think it's probably... I was saying, it's easier to escape from prison. There must be easier ways to escape from prison than going to the chapel every Sunday for a year in the hope that one day you might be asked to donate a kidney. So I don't know.
Maybe if you don't go to the chapel, you've got to do something else that you wouldn't want to do.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
he's getting out of something else, like...
Could be.
Cleaning the toilet or something.
Cleaning, yeah. Our minds both went to the same place there.
Mine's
in the
two
gutter.
things that happen
Mine's
on a
in the
Sunday.
toilet.
Clean the toilets and go to church.
Yeah.
And if you could get away with only doing one, well, you go to church,
Go to the place that gives you bread and wine.
Oh, free bread and wine.
Don't want to be drinking anything from the toilet.
Free Dettol if you clean the toilet.
So, Rob is going to chapel.
Right. So, we've got Bobby and Ryan are both at the hospital.
Yes. Bobby gets a message or something, doesn't he, saying he has to go somewhere.
Yeah, he lies.
He lies. He says he's going to go to town to see Max.
I've got to go see Max.
Yes.
But that all comes out, doesn't it? So, Carla then talks to Ryan about his birthday, because he's, what do you want? And she also...
What do you want?
What do you want? Do
you want a neutron man cake? Because I heard Daisy is a dab.
She knows where to get them from. Nobody else knows. I asked Daisy and she didn't... I asked Bethany and she had no idea.
No clue.
Bethany's going to write an article about the 5 best places in Manchester to get a neutron man cake. Right.
You won't believe number 3.
It's Greg's. Right, so... yeah, she's worried because she's got this tube now for dialysis at home.
Or is she getting a tube? Oh yeah.
She's like, I'm worried about what Lisa's going to think about it. Then Ryan is back in the street.
Maybe her and Bethany can bond over things sticking out of your stomach. Nice.
Bethany's next article. 2 things you can have sticking out your stomach. My number 2 is my favourite. Anyway, right, so Ryan sees Sarah back at the street, mentions that Bobby is seeing Max in town, and Sarah says no, because Max is working at the salon today. So he knows he's telling a fib. We find out where he is, because he's visiting Rob.
Yeah, he's going to see his old dad again, hasn't he? Going to see his old pater.
And Rob says, I've been thinking and praying about for guidance.
Yeah,
about
the
what
last time we saw Rob, well, last week, he'd hit the wall, hadn't he, when Bobby asked him whether he wouldn't mind lending a kidney to Carla, and then at the end of the episode he phones him up and said, yeah, maybe I've been a bit hasty, so this is the...
He just had to think of a plan.
Yeah.
He's got his plan now.
Yeah.
And so he's ready to bamboozle everybody.
I'm just trying to work out like which bit of this plan is off the cuff and ad-libbed.
It doesn't
because
make any sense.
Obviously Rob couldn't have accounted for the fact that maybe Carla might need a vital organ off of him one of these days. So I think that maybe
what was the plan?
His original, reaction to being asked to give one last week was completely genuine.
Yeah, I think that's
And then he's like, oh yeah, that's right. Sorry,
forgot.
I've been going to church for a year as a plan, and I've missed my opportunity. Sorry, my bad.
That's why I got this bracelet that says, what would Jesus do? To remind me to always pretend to be a Christian. So he says, look, I thought about it. I'm sorry about what I said the other day. I've found God, and
one of my cellmates showed me where he was.
He's up. Bobby's very
everywhere.
cynical, and he says, look, I've changed my mind now. I want to atone for all my sins. Can I donate my kidney to Carla? And again, everyone's going to be gutted if it turns out he's not a match. Everyone's just assuming he's a match. They're going through all these very elaborate things and taking out loans and calling out favours and taking money from children to pay for this kidney that we don't even know that he actually is a match.
Mm-hmm. When, like we said earlier, we know that Kate very much is a match. She can't
and
still
it would
be bumming around in Barlow.
If she got it off Kate.
Yeah.
To be honest though, if Kate found out that someone else was getting 100 grand, she'd pitch for 50, wouldn't she? You know she would.
Yeah.
Right, so Bobby recognises Matty in prison. So Matty is Logan and Mason's brother. He was... I know, but not everyone remembers his name.
The more flamboyantly haired Warner brother.
He's the Chin's Warner brother who's been caught.
Yes.
And
but not the one who actually did the stabbing.
No. So Bobby recognises him there when he goes to visit Rob again. And Matty can see him staring at him. And he's like, what are you bloody looking at? And
he's waiting. He's
waiting for someone.
He said, it's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
But was that all part of the ruse? Because what happens is a big plot, isn't it?
It's a big plot.
Yes.
So
he's getting a bit leery with one of the lady guards.
The lady guard is like, calm down.
She was apparently on Shameless, lady guard there.
Lady guard.
Everyone's like, oh, I recognise her, and I was like, nope, never seen her before in my life. But she had lines, so I assume she must have been important.
I'm not going to say too much about my thoughts about this.
I will. But do you want to say what happened first?
So in the prison, Matty's there. He's in the waiting room. Rob and Bobby are having a heart-to-heart about religion and kidneys. And he is just sulking and staring at Bobby and telling him to not look at him. And he's fed up with everything. Then Lady Guard comes and says, sorry, your girlfriend's not turned up. And Matty's like, I don't believe you. She would never abandon me. I'm really mad. And then he brings a knife out, a Stanley knife from nowhere.
That was... I swear that's not been explained.
Not been
Please,
explained.
if it has been, let us know. But where did that knife come from?
Imagine the guards of Highfield Prison are like, oh, God, we could let them have phones. Just give them knives. What's the difference? I don't care. Do you care? No, I don't care.
See,
we don't even get lines most of the time. And not half the time we get hijacked and played by a character who's in a dream sequence. Let's just forget it. Sack it off.
Matty shouldn't have been in the same bit of prison as Rob.
He's on remand.
He's on remand. Did they share a waiting room? I mean, the fact that Matty could go into Rob's cell at the end of the episode didn't quite make sense to me, but I don't really understand these things.
I don't know enough about it, and I don't know how to find out. And it's never anything that's been part of my world to know about prisons and the justice system. So I don't really understand it. So whatever they show me on Coronation Street, I'm afraid I just take as whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, would he be on? I didn't even really know that when you were waiting for a prison, were waiting for us, to be
trial.
charged or whatever. I didn't even know you went and stayed in normal prison. I thought you went somewhere else.
No, that's why you have your nice cell with the phone, isn't it? Although
And you
Rob's
get to
got a
wear
phone.
normal clothes, don't you? I
Maybe.
really don't understand it.
I don't know what's Lauren
Do I
wearing
need
at
to
the
go?
moment.
The thing is, I always think about these things, right? And then I think, I need to educate myself and learn more about this. And then I think, no, that would just be a hindrance to enjoying the show because they don't use there's no logic or in reality to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
It would just annoy you if you knew the truth about most of this stuff because you'd be like, that wouldn't happen, that wouldn't happen, that wouldn't happen.
Most of it I can just say whatever, I don't know. But the fact that he was able to have a Stanley knife there, surely he would have been checked. Where did it didn't make sense.
Look,
I know there's shivs all over prison, I
completely
suppose, aren't there?
understand
But he's literally been in prison one day.
I
and he's
completely
already under
understand
Rob's
that there
thumb
would be
and got a
contraband and definitely knives and weapons, but it would have made more sense if it was just a shiv.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to question how did he fashion a shiv, because that's all you do in prison.
If you're not cleaning toilets or going to the church, I mean.
Watching this YouTube video the other day, there's a really inspirational story about a prisoner who actually did a degree in shiv making in prison.
Oh, really?
And he came out and he was like a lecturer at university, so how to make shivs for students.
Are you making this up? She is. You nearly had me then. Told you I was tired.
So he gets his standing knife and he's like, he got Lady Guard there, and she's like, no, but I'm a sexy Lady Guard, and we're all of course
alarms
aghast,
go
we?
off.
We're worried.
Rooms emptied apart
Everyone
from Rob
runs
and
away.
Bobby.
Yeah, we've got Rob,
Main
Bobby,
characters only stay,
Matty,
please.
and Lady Guard, and everyone else evacuates.
Yeah.
And Ryan is at the hospital. Carla and the Swains, very cute, sing him happy birthday.
Ruin the flow of the drama in the prison here by talking about what the Swains
But then
are getting
Lisa's
up to.
like, I've got a message. It's nothing though. It's just a hostage situation at Highfield Prison, but luckily I don't have to worry about it. And Ryan's like, but wait, Bobby's there. And of course, if you know Bobby, like as well as these four do, you're like, he's probably been taken hostage.
Right in the middle of it.
He's been taken hostage for being annoying or something, or making a stupid joke.
They even had Bobby in Lauren's court scene on Friday, didn't they? When he was tapping his fingers annoyingly on the side of the benches that he was in. It has become a bit of an in-joke now. But yeah, the whole hostage situation that then played out in the prison was just dreadful. And it was another one of these things, like with Lauren, which we'll come up to later, where I was kind of sympathising with the hostage taker, and I'm not going to say that I wasn't saying, go on, stab him in the neck, when he had Bobby in a headlock. Well, it all started off... No, how does it...
Right, so
go on, remind us.
Rob's there with Bobby, and Matty's got the Lady Guard hostage, right? And Rob's trying to calm him down and saying, look, prison, I know what it does to people, but it's not worth it. Put the knife down. And then Matty smashes Bobby's head against the table. It was violent and wrong.
So bad when Bobby... I definitely didn't cheer when Bobby's head got smashed against the table.
I'm so sorry. Well, he gets...
I was just a little bit... He didn't even break his glasses. It was only a little push, wasn't it?
He swaps his hostage from the guard to Bobby. Right? And then he holds him in a headlock for the rest of the scene.
Yeah. And Bobby's like going, oh, heck. Yeah.
Right.
I didn't expect anything bad to happen to Bobby here.
No,
More's
because
the
it would have
pity.
turned it from being hilarious to sad.
It wasn't. That's the
you
problem.
don't actually want him to die.
This scene was too funny.
It was farcical.
This was a farce of a hostage situation. It really, really was. And yeah, we were supposed to be worried for Bobby, and literally was anybody. I'm sure some people listening were, but
this is what I mean about like, don't throw in something with really high stakes like this as a matter of like course.
Yeah.
This would have been like I've said it so many times. It's boring.
We've even had, it's not unusual for people on the street to be held hostage.
Yes!
Like Evelyn
was held hostage not that long ago.
Yeah.
In the shop, you just forget about it because it happens all the time.
Well, maybe
it's just really boring.
I think Roy was last year.
Nothing's going to happen. It's just silly.
No. Well, we also had. I suppose this was a bit more high stakes than the Stevens final episode when you had Jenny there in the pub. But
you knew nothing was going to happen to Jenny. You're just thinking, how is Stephen going to die? Because you knew he was going to die.
When was the last time someone was taken hostage and either of them ended up dead.
The best hostage situation was when Ken and Mike were tied up during the frescoes.
That was a good scene. That was
brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, this was not that. I'm sorry to say that I don't think any of these characters are on a level with Mike Baldwin and Ken Barlow.
I kind of did feel a bit sad for Mark Baines. Saying one of my first big scenes. Now I'm back in Coronation Street for the first time in however many years.
It's a bit of fun, isn't it? I don't know how serious we were supposed to take this.
I think it was supposed to be serious.
Well, I hope not.
But it was just absolutely dreadful.
It was just silly. It felt like a panto. So Matty's got Bobby hostage, and the nation cries out for blood, but we don't get it. He
doesn't even give him a little prick, does he, with his Stanley knife?
No.
Get your mind out of the gutter, you lot.
It was Shakespearean.
He says, I'm gonna shake. No, he says, say hi to Mason, doesn't he?
Yeah. So Matty's making this big show, and so is Rob. Like, I repent, see the light.
Yeah, he's really going to town with his.
Yeah. And so Matty's about to kill Bobby, and Rob lunges at him, grabs Bobby, rescues him. The guards move in. Matty's, taken down. Bobby's winded, and is grateful and gives his father a hug, saying, "You saved my life, Dad. I can't believe it." And he goes to the hospital, does Bobby.
And we all breathe a sigh of relief.
We're like, thank goodness, because that could have been really bad, couldn't it?
He doesn't have to go and give any statements or anything about what happened or get checked out or anything,
doesn't go to the hospital.
I thought, it's almost like, Matty's subdued, and then Bobby's like, anyway, I'm going home now, bye.
Problem solved.
And then off he trots.
Yeah, the governor's like, look, can we just say... Just call it quits on this, because
let's not let this spread.
I genuinely
don't want to be in the front page of the Weatherfield Gazette hostage situation at the prison.
It was really relatable how Matty wanted to stab him, so I'm going to let it slide. So
anyway,
Bobby goes to the hospital to tell Carla about how Rob saved his life and that he's found God and he's turning his life around. And Carla's not really in the mood for this until Bobby says that Rob wants to give her a kidney. And Carla says, I wouldn't take Rob's kidney if it was the last one on earth. Which would be a bit cruel, because that would be Rob's only kidney and you'd kill him.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the nice thing to say. If it was the last kidney on earth, I wouldn't take it, because it would mean the death of my dear beloved brother Rob.
And fairly soon after the death of the human race as well.
Well, also, who's going to put it in?
Yeah.
Because your doctor's going to do the surgery. He's got no kidneys, love.
Maybe the doctor's
because
on
there's only
dialysis.
one left.
Anyway,
Carla,
she don't want the kidney.
You're not talking sense, love. I think you need more dialysis. So anyway, Bobby says, look, at least let Rob get tested and then you decide if you want, And Carla says, look, he wants to have a relationship. If you want to have a relationship with your dad, Bobby, it's up to you, but I'm never going to speak to him again. My body, my call, she says. Back in prison, we learn that Matty's being sent to solitary, but that the whole thing was some kind of setup.
Yeah, he's in a cell with Rob, isn't he? And I can't remember. Rob's
how, I don't know, but they are.
So somehow, despite the fact that Matty's been in remand in prison for 24 hours or so, he's already under Rob's thumb, and it was all the setup. And
how did he manage to convince him?
I don't really know.
They better explain it.
I don't think they do. Well, the guy who plays, and I don't think this is a spoiler to say this now, because this is what we usually would do, but the guy who plays Matty's put on his Instagram, well, that's me, that's a wrap.
Really?
Matty's over.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That makes no sense at all.
That's the last. Maybe they put him in solitary and then forget where the key is or
They're
something.
Like, in 6 months' time, they'll be like,
oopsie.
Oh, do you know what I've not done? I've not fed that kid in solitary for 6 months. Oh my God, how long does it take someone to turn into a skeleton? Because I don't want to look at any guts or anything. Right. Okay, don't tell anyone. Don't say anything. We'll just leave them.
Let's bury the news by saying there was a hostage situation in the prison.
just say it was an evil hostage.
Yeah, so anyway,
I
think that's right. I don't think I'm getting that wrong. But yeah, bye-bye, Matty, if that's true.
No, that can't be.
Well, at some point, Logan's got to be caught, hasn't he?
We know that Matty and Logan have got a shelf life, and I thought that there would be some kind of they're being sent down or whatever story.
Yeah, look, we haven't seen the last of Logan because he's still out there on the run. But it all
If that
comes
really
down to
is
Logan is the one who stabbed, and he should be the one that gets the longer sentence. But I don't know what.
If that really is the last we see of Matty, it would have been way more dramatic if Rob had killed him with the knife.
Yeah,
Because if we're not basing any of this on reality and logic, it would have, in real life, if you'd killed another prisoner in during a riot, which is kind of what that was, that you would have been punished in some way, even if you were trying to save. Surely there'd be consequences. But because this is Coronation Street, it doesn't make any difference.
And Rob's still got another 20 years behind bars, hasn't he? So adding an extra, however long it'd be for killing Matty, is like, so what? It's not like Jim McDonald where I think Jim was sent down for 10 years, and every time that he did something stupid, it just added a little bit more on to it. This would be like, well, so what?
But
I'm not getting out for good.
It doesn't make any difference.
Soon,
but like, if he had stabbed Matty, you still could have had a scene, at the last minute where Matty's like, "Why are you doing this? You told me to do it," and then he would have died. And
I just don't think that you want 2 stabbings in a week. Maybe that'd be a bit bleak. Mason one week, brother the next.
Coronation Street.
Sorry, we should have one a day, shouldn't we?
Yeah, every episode, stabbing.
I don't know whether I really rate Rob's plan here because there are a lot of reasons and ways that it could have gone wrong, really, aren't there? Like, Bobby could have actually been stabbed. I mean, does Rob care so little about Bobby?
Anyone cares about whether Bobby got stabbed.
I'd like to believe that Rob does care somewhat about his son. But I mean, clearly the way that he's treating him at the moment, he doesn't give 2 hoots about him, or he would be willing at least to risk his life because, he could say to Matty, don't actually kill him. I know you've stabbed someone last week apparently, but please don't kill my son, otherwise I'm going to be a bit mad.
Maybe, Rob could have given him the weapon. That would explain why he got it so quickly.
Yeah, it could have been, but I still don't know how it got past the security or what have you. But yeah, the guard could have overpowered them. Matty could have got stabbed, an awful lot could have happened there, and it just is a little bit convenient that it went perfectly to the way he presumably planned it.
So on Wednesday, Rob is in his cell, and the guard lady he was taken hostage comes in and says, "Oh, you were very brave." I was expecting her to say, "I think it worked." Yeah,
I know. I saw some people speculating about whether she was in on it as well. I don't think she was. She was the one that on Monday's episode took him to the cell as well.
If you're gonna make a stupid storyline like this, you could just go all out with it and have her be in on it as well. Why not? Because the more people know about this conspiracy, the more sense it makes, actually. Because why would you trust a criminal to not, to take a hostage and involve the guard, knowing that if they found out that you were behind it, you'd be in serious trouble. But not if the guard knew, though, because the guard could hide it. It would make way more sense if she was involved in this.
I don't think that's the last we'll have seen of the guard. At least I can say that, because there's going to be surely more prison scenes, and if Rob is let out of prison to get operated on, I'm going to say probably she's going to be the one standing guard at the door.
Maybe they don't want her they don't want to make her a patsy in this or involved in this, because she's going to be needed for some part of the plot later where she underestimates him and thinks he's a goodie when he's actually a baddie.
His plan now, surely, is to go to hospital, get tested, go on the run befher he actually loses a kidney, because he ain't running away anywhere when he's got a kidney out.
No, it'd be fine. It's like when Toya had her operation.
Oh, her appendix out.
No, that was me that had the appendix out.
Yeah, sorry. Appendix, ovary.
Well, it's the same. It's actually exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I think that it'd be fine. Rob could probably do anything.
No, so he's going to go to hospital. So it's whether or not she's kind of in on it and helps him escape. Like, is his long? Because you can say, "I'll go to hospital and I will escape," and that's all very well and good that's your plan. But it's going to be a bit hard to think it's going to be foolproof unless you've got the guard on it as well. So maybe she's under his thumb. I don't know.
Pretending.
But the question is, what had his original plan be? Because, like we said, he didn't necessarily know until recently that hospital was an option. Was he just planning to
Well, it's just an
Go,
opportunist.
I just want to go to a real church. Can you just take me out of prison one day so I can go to an actual real church to worship God and then escape from there? And now he's going to escape from the... I think his plan now is that he will be asked to go to the hospital chapel maybe, and he'll do a bunk there.
I just assume he was pretending to be religious because it gives you better treatment, and
Do you think
you're more likely to be let out. He's not the only, like, this is like a clearly said, everyone, there are so many prisoners, there are so many notorious criminals who have found God in prison, and you're like, no, you haven't. You just want to get out. So many of them, I just don't believe it.
Well,
mind you, if there was if I had committed a bunch of really horrible crimes and there was a guy living in a cloud, he was like, don't worry about it. I'd be like, you know what? I like that guy. He's the only one who's ever been nice to me. You guys all suck.
I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see where it's going. I'm obviously not expecting this to be a long-term Rob Donovan.
I want them to go proper ham with this religious stuff. I do wonder whether the work they've done with Billy and Dee Dee is kind of like proactively trying to atone for whatever it is they're going to do with Rob, making him a fake religious person, because they can say, look, we're not against Christians, because look at all the stuff we did with Dee Dee and Billy, like we respect all beliefs, but like I would be so delighted if like Rob was like doing stuff like, you know, stabbing guards to death and doing the sign of the cross over them, or like making funny quips.
Like Phelan did when Michael Rodwell was dead on the floor. He crossed himself then, didn't he? I wonder whether Billy will get a scene with Rob.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like having scenes with actually religious people and him being caught out, or...
Because like, I don't know, I haven't really thought this through how it would work, but if Rob does have a scene with Billy in his flat, that's the flat where Tina lived, isn't it?
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, returning to the scene.
And then Billy would be like, listen, I know you're a man of God like I am. Atone for your sins. It's not too late for your soul to be saved. And Rob be like, you believe a single word I said about God.
You get into a situation where Billy doesn't know whether or not to
trust
report him or trust him or let him go.
Yes, but he could hide him. Billy would be so easily convinced to keep Rob hiding in the bedroom or something, because he said, oh, we both like God, why don't you let me in?
Yeah. Oh, I hope it happens soon.
See what I mean? I think there is a lot of potential in Rob pretending to be religious.
Yeah.
But like you, I'm not quite sure what his original plan was.
No.
Right,
pray his way out of prison, I guess. What happens on Wednesday?
So Bobby's still trying to convince Carla to go to see Rob, and if we weren't already convinced about how hard it is to be on dialysis, we get to watch a poor lady stumbling her way down the corridor.
She's huffing her way past the window, isn't she?
It was really quite ridiculous.
Oh, hey, dialysis is hard.
My kidney hurts.
You'd tell you what, Carly, you don't want this.
Oh, you don't want to do this? No. So Bobby says, look, that could be you. Look at her.
She's not fabulous at all, Carla.
Look at her cheekbones. You can barely see them. Her hair's not beautiful and raven and full of luscious bounce.
And I tell you what, Lisa would not be fancying her.
Lisa's not following her down the corridor, hanging on her every word, is she? No. You
want Rob's kidney, don't you?
Right.
And looks like Carla is willing to be persuaded.
Be a haggard old woman.
Shuffling down a hospital corridor.
I thought this was really I really hated that scene. I thought it was horrible.
Why
are we dunking on dialysis patients just to make it clear that she doesn't want to go on it?
Well, she's not dunking on dialysis patients.
They're
just making out that it's not all the best thing in the world.
Did she think it was? Anyway, so Bobby meets up with Lisa and Betsy and tells them about this kidney thing, and that Carl has gone to see Rob, and everyone's like, oh, she shouldn't really be leaving the hospital. And she's not supposed to leave the hospital.
No.
But she escapes. She's like, Rob, guess what? It's really easy to just escape. In the hospital. And he's like, interesting, Carla. Tell me more about this. So she meets up with him, and he's still going on about finding God, and
he's saying that God knows.
God's told me.
God's told me he's got a plan for me.
Rob, I gave you 2 kidneys for a reason. Right, so he says, I'm trying to save your life. I'm trying to make up for being a horrible brother. I can't believe all the terrible things I've done. I regret it every day. I wake up every morning. I wake up and I go, God, I wish I hadn't stolen that silk.
I knew you were going to reference that. That's all I remember as well.
he also murdered a girl. But whatever. We don't care about that. We care about how he wronged Carla.
Yeah.
Right. So Carla's like, look, I'm not going to forgive you. That silk was really expensive. Didn't believe you about the God thing, but he swears he's telling the truth. And he says, she says, look, that's what you say before you screw me over. I'm not going to fall for it again. And he says, no, I saw the light a year ago. Mind you, he's the only source we've got for saying that he actually did this a year ago.
Yeah, I suppose so.
He could have just been doing it this week.
Yeah, that's not.
Why do we believe him? So he's like, look, my cellmate introduced me to the Bible. I'd never heard of it before. Something just clicked.
He said it was in a really dark place, but now I'm in Coronation Street, so hang on a minute.
So he's like, look, I know I killed Tina and everything, but I'm not that person anymore. And anyway, let's not forget, you were filmed killing her too. Just because I didn't use that clip doesn't mean that you're not guilty as I am.
That's very true. In a parallel universe, Carla's the one banged up there.
Yeah, exactly. And Peter.
Yep, and Tracy.
And Tracy. Could have been any of us.
Yeah.
So Carla's like, look, I'm not going to... I can't deal with this. I'm not going to pretend this didn't happen. And she tries to walk away. And he stands up and he says, I'm doing this for Bobby as well. What's going to happen to him? If you die, who's going to look after him?
Because he's not going to find a bird, is he?
He's not going to look after himself, apparently.
Yeah.
He's completely incapable. He just, like, if he goes to the shop, he just does one-liners until they kick him out.
Yeah, and his grandma's not lasting for too much longer, I imagine.
Nobody in his family likes him except you, Carla. And
Tell you
Carla's
what,
like...
with Bobby, when he hears that Max has been dumped by Lauren this week, he's like...
He'll be right in there.
He is right in there. He's like, sorry, Carla, I got a better offer come up.
Yeah.
I've done my bit.
I have to tell you that the incentive of staying alive to look after Bobby would send me straight to ripping my other kidney out.
Is this what my life has become now?
It's like I'm just going to try and dig my liver out while I'm here as well. Right, so back at
anyone for foie gras?
Right, okay, the brioche. At the hospital, Carla tells Lisa about her meeting with Rob, and Lisa's like, look, it's kidney is a kidney is a kidney. You shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. You should go for this.
Yeah.
Bobby joins them later, and Carla says, I don't trust your dad, but I'm going to have to see if he is a match. And Lisa's like, gives her a big hug.
I'm glad. Like, I mean,
of course what is she thinking? Oh, I'm not going to, like, are you serious? He's not going to give a kidney to anyone else.
No.
If you're going to be greater good kind of like in the grand scheme of things, you take that kidney to stop someone else having to give you a kidney who could use that kidney for someone else, you know?
Mm. And Lisa, she's just at the beginning of this relationship, which she's super invested in. They're very much still in the honeymoon phase. And she's thinking, well, yeah, I do whatever you can to get this.
Yes,
I don't want to lose you.
It's a kidney. Also,
you're going to swear that.
No, I was going to say a free kidney, but it's not a free kidney.
I thought you were going to say something else.
It's a flipping kidney. But, like, you just imagine, like, Lisa's sitting here and like, first of all, in the space of like how long has Carla been in the hospital? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
In the space of 2 weeks, she's found out, right, number one, Carla's only got one kidney. Or she's a working kidney. Mm-hmm. Number two, that her brother gave her the first one. Then that he killed himself. Then that Carla's got a brother called Rob.
That's very important that he's called Rob.
Rob killed somebody else and is in prison, and then she finds out that Carla's like had money stolen off of her by a dead serial killer who had his money stolen off of him.
She's
by the people
very
that own the pub.
Considering, isn't she?
And if I was like, all of these are crimes as well. You know what I mean? This isn't just like, oh, somebody was rude to me at Christmas and I haven't spoken to them since. This is like, all of this is crime. And she's like, I don't know what I've got myself.
To arrest someone here.
I need to arrest them for blackmail and theft and fraud.
Yeah.
I don't know
but
that
she
Lisa
doesn't, because she loves Carla.
I don't know that Lisa knows about the Jenny and Daisy stuff.
I can't remember. We'll find out when we get there.
But,
I don't think she does yet.
But like, number one, if she does, she's going to have to report it, because she already reported Betsy a few times for stuff that she's done.
Yeah.
So she's not going to hide it for Carla's sake.
Yeah.
And number two, she's like, if I find, I can't be involved in this.
Yeah. I think it's going to be another one of these. Well, Lisa is clearly going to find out about it.
If she finds out that she's been lied to about it.
Yeah.
But have we brushed this under the carpet?
She's
now?
not going to dob Carla in, is she? Look, let's get on to
All
Friday.
right, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's just when it all comes out, isn't it? Well, it's revealed, and this story that we thought had been completely forgotten about, Carla kind of semi-owns the Rovers, and Jenny and Daisy are supposed to be paying her back. It's a bit like the Toya murdering Imran's story. It's one of these things that in some ways it would be better to just forget it never happened, but it's equally quite unsatisfactory if it is. And I really enjoyed the fact that Daisy and Jenny were brought into the fray here. Another example this week of characters naturally being involved in another story that they didn't have anything to do with, and it just makes the community feel, and the fact that these guys all do live in the same street and apparently know each other, feel more realistic. So do you wanna just quickly remind us about what happened there?
On Friday, Rob is on the phone to Bobby. He's telling him that Carla wants him to get tested. And he's like, oh, great. I can't do it right now because I'm going to the library to spread the word of our Lord.
Do you think he just when we go to the shop sometimes and put your magazine on the front of all the racks so that everybody gets them, does he go to the library and just put the Bibles on the front of the shelves so that everybody picks them up?
I think he sits behind the counter, and when you check out a book, he's like, have you tried the Bible?
If you like 50 Shades of Grey, can I recommend the Bible? If you like Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, you might like the Bible. If you like Martha Stewart's Complete Cooking Course, have you thought of the Bible? That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah. Carla talks to Ryan about this. Right, this is the one that really peed me off.
Oh yeah, you Gemma got really mad at this part when we were watching. It didn't bother me at all.
Well, Carla's in the hospital and she's talking to Ryan, and she says, it turns out that getting a kidney off somebody is not as easy as you thought because Rob's in prison. And so I can't do it through the NHS. And I missed if there was any more explanation to this.
I think they were just kind of saying it's a bit tricky in the amount of security that would be needed if he was in prison, and it's not going to happen quickly or easily.
It's going to take too long.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to do it privately, and so to do that, it's going to cost me £100,000.
100,000 magic beans, actually. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I hated
Why
this.
did you hate this so much?
Because it's silly. Because
no, you've got to
this
explain
is the
more than
second
that.
time in less than a year that Coronation Street has taken a story about medical stuff and added money on the top of it. Like, we live in America. We don't live in America. I know
Bethany's
sepsis storyline and this storyline now.
Sepsis is a costly ailment in Weatherfield, isn't it?
Well, they've written in reasons why. It's not like they're pretending you have to pay for this as a matter of course. But already it's grating on me how many medical storylines we're having simultaneously. But now you're adding on things that are just alien to most of us. Like, what? You don't need to pay £100,000. You haven't even given it a chance. You haven't asked anybody else. You haven't looked into all of your options. You haven't spoken to Kate about it. You haven't looked at where you are on the waiting list. It doesn't cost £100,000 to get a kidney. Coronation Street keeps adding drama on top of drama, and this is what I'm always complaining about. Can't we not just have a story about a kidney transplant? Is there something about it where the writers are like, no, it has to be realistic, so it has to cost £100,000? I just find this really sinister to add money on top of medical stuff.
But I think that somebody in Carla's position, and she's used to living the high life, used to getting what she wants, would probably consider private treatment more readily than the average.
I'm not necessarily
guy.
attacking the premise of each individual storyline because they've created a logical reason why. I'm just really questioning why you're adding money on top of all the medical stuff because I don't find it necessary. I think the story stands on their own anyway because it's a medical storyline. You don't need to add extra drama. It's already hideous as it is. You don't need to add all this extra pressure. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, the other thing about it is that because it's Carla, she kind of has a magic wand to wave over everybody. She was offered 50 grand by the end of the episode, and she had somebody else who owes her £250,000. What does it matter?
Yeah, that's the only thing that I would say
so
is that
what?
it was relatively
It's not
low
a struggle,
stakes
is it?
because she seems to be able to have found the money already. Not an episode has gone by since she found out that she needed it.
I would have much preferred her to have said something like, I need you two, Daisy and Jenny, I need you to give me my money that you owe me because I can't work now. I'm going to have to take time out of work and it's going to cost me money. So give me my money back.
That's less life and death, though.
I know, but
I really
but can you
didn't
see,
mind.
my distaste for this is that the NHS is under attack. People keep talking about privatisation. And the more you normalise the idea that you have to pay money for medical procedures in this country, the more dangerous it is. Because I just think you should never talk about money when it comes to medical stuff, because it's supposed to be free at the point of access in this country.
Yeah, but
don't
it's
talk
not a
about
sinister
it.
plot from ITV to
No, I
get
know it's
people
not.
to go private.
But this is 2 major storylines in the last 6 months where people have been faced with massive bills because of medical issues. Do you not think that's weird?
I would not have even batted an eyelid if you hadn't got mad about it.
Does
but
anyone
you are
else
perfectly
think this is
entitled
weird?
to feel this way.
That 2 big characters in big medical storylines have both been faced with bills of about £100,000 in the space of a very short amount of time. Why put that in?
I'm just glad that it got the Jenny and Daisy angle. To be honest, I thought as soon as I can't remember whether we said what about Jenny before it got brought up in the show, because she gets a phone call, doesn't she? A little bit later, Jenny does, because Carla's kind of been saying to Lisa,
I can get the money, but
I think I can get the
why.
money, yeah. And then we get a call from, you see Jenny getting a call from her, and we're like, oh yeah. And you must admit, we were both quite excited when we saw that Jenny was going to be involved in it. And I just loved the fact that Jenny actually got a scene outside the pub. I mean, that's a rarity, isn't it? It was a rarity seeing Jenny for one thing, but to actually have her in a hospital scene, it feels like she's just tied behind that bar, and she's almost not a character in her own right. She's just there to dispense advice and drinks. So it was lovely seeing her getting involved in someone else's dramas for the first time in I don't know how long.
Yeah, when was the last time you saw Jenny in a scene that was not the back room, the Rovers or the Rovers?
Yeah, exactly. It was great. I almost don't see her at the moment on the same level as some of these other characters who are, going in and out of each other's business.
Even Daisy
a little
gets to
bit.
leave.
Daisy gets to leave. She's not chained to that place, but it was almost odd seeing Jenny in a different set, and that's not right. But if this is the beginning of maybe a little bit more Jenny for 2025, then that would be good.
So cannot wait to see how much Kevin's gonna have to pay for a new set of balls.
Yeah, that's true. At least he might only need one, eh?
Well, look.
Or do you get is it a 2-for-1 offer?
Can you see my point here? Like whenever I see medical stuff, there's loads of some stuff online at the moment about Americans talking about their healthcare system and people being popped in the head because they're a CEO of an insurance company. And I just think I'm so glad that we live in a country where you don't have to
absolutely,
pay.
Yeah, totally.
But then Coronation Street's like, oh no, but what if you did have to pay? Well, you don't have to.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it.
Also, there are so many other things about transplants that are interesting that they could talk about, and like remember when if you go on the transplant list, if your relative gets a match, or if your relative gets tested and they're not a match, they can go on the list and give their kidney to someone else who might have someone who is a match. Do you see? They do that sometimes, where you say, look, my kidney's not a match, but I'll go on the list and I'll get my kidney given to someone else, and then that bumps you up the list. They didn't talk about any of this. They went straight to, it's £100,000 to get a prisoner's kidney that I don't even know if it is a match at all. And she didn't even wait to see if he got tested. She went straight to shaking Daisy and Jenny down for the money that they owe her. I mean, at the end of this, if Rob's not a match, Carla gets a kidney, and suddenly she's there with a new Hermes bag, you're going to know where that money went. That's all I'm saying. Right, so Daisy and Jenny get called in to the hospital room to see Carla. And just to remind everybody, at one point, Carla was actually Jenny's daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
So I guess she's not really surprised that much to be by her bedside. But she certainly was not expecting to be asked for the money immediately.
No, Jenny's like, we've been paying you back, but I can't just give you the rest of it all in one lump sum. We haven't got it.
Well, if somebody said to me, I need £100,000 for a kidney and you owe me the money, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm ethically opposed to paying money for private healthcare, so we can get bent. Right, so she's like, look, we are paying you back. We're going to take time. We can't just magic £100,000. And Carla then goes, okay, well, Ryan, give me the phone. And Jenny's like, what do you need the phone for? And she's like, I'm just going to call the police. Jenny's like, no. Hang on a minute. And I did really like this because Jenny and Daisy are like, well, logically, we cannot just give you £100,000. What do you mean? We don't have it. And Carla's like, sorry, I don't care. She's like, I'm bothered by this because I've got my kidney's dying. I don't care. Your problems are not my problems. My problem is I want £100,000. Your problem is finding it. I don't want to hear any details. Just go and get it.
I can't remember the line off the top of my head, but there was a great one where Carla's saying, I'm not going to be held at gunpoint by a pair of low down,
she calls them lying cows, lying thieving cows.
And then she's like, goes, no offence, but
offence.
Just drops that in. It was a really great delivery of that.
It was great, and like the panic of Daisy, like Jenny's panicking and like stumbling over her words, and Daisy just there like, I don't have that money.
Daisy's got issues of her own.
Daisy's like, I don't care. I need £100,000 for a nursery and future college.
Maybe
fund.
Daisy could sell off her baby.
Sell the baby. I know a couple that would buy it.
Yeah. You'd get about 20 grand for a baby on Coronation Street.
No, she's going to need loads then.
But some of Carla's money's already been paid off, apparently.
Wow.
I just don't buy it. I don't know how Jenny on earth is able to pay Carla more than like £100 a week or something.
Yeah, when she says I'm paying you back, I kind of don't imagine that's a great amount of money.
No. So it's going to be a big jump. It's not
I
like,
half expected,
you're nearly there. Can I just have the final 10 grand in one go, please?
I half expected Jenny to be like, but what do you mean? I thought the writers forgot about that. Right, so back at the pub, Jenny and Daisy are talking about this. And we don't have the money. I don't understand what we're supposed to do. But then we get another scene where Carla, Lisa and Betsy come in to see Carla. And Betsy says, look, I've got something to say to you. I want to help you with your kidney. I got left quite a bit of money actually.
Handy.
By Becky, my dead mum. I got at least half of the money that you need for your treatment. I want you to have it. And Carla's like, oh, that's so nice. And Betsy's like, look, just to be clear, I'm not giving it to you. I want you to pay me back. But I really want to help you. And Carla's like, well, I can't say no, can I?
Yeah, she takes a little bit of time mulling over it. So it's very nice of Betsy, although one might say it's kind of Betsy's fault that Carla's in there because she was the reason that Carla got hit on the head and then got the sepsis.
No one said about this, have they?
No, nobody brings that up.
Nobody has brought this up.
No.
But Lisa was there being really proud. It shows you how much she trusts Carla because I don't think I would be happy for my child to give their entire trust fund to a woman I'd only been going out with for 2 months.
But they are soulmates,
They are soulmates. Well, this is what I mean. Like, she obviously completely trusts Carla with like her child's future.
Yeah.
Really, doesn't she?
She must be very worried for Carla because I think any parent would look for any other option other than allowing their daughter
Lisa
to
not
give
have
them
any money?
Lisa, did Becky not leave Lisa anything?
There was problems in that marriage, obviously.
Because if Becky was killed in the line of duty, I would have thought that you might get a fairly decent lump sum out of that. Maybe Lisa's been on the raz. And
Lisa's been buying expensive jumpers.
She's just been.
She has, because I know how much some of her jumpers cost.
No, I think that she's just been down in bottles of iron brew every day.
Yeah,
it's all gone on iron brew and kebabs. That's what she would have wanted, Becky. A fellow connoisseur of prima donna.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, 3 years worth of kebabs. She's spent £100,000 already.
Yeah, it's just funny how it goes, isn't it?
I know. It slips through your fingers, isn't it? So Becky's left Betsy at least 50 grand. So yeah, you think that Becky, Lisa would have had some.
Yeah.
Maybe she just paid off the mortgage.
I can't remember how much Jenny and Daisy owe Carla.
£250,000.
Was it? So I mean, is Carla still going to carry on shaking them down?
Well, she's not going to get. Look, it's blood out of a stone, isn't it? She's not going to get. She's not going to get the money.
They don't have the money. I really don't want Daisy and Jenny to go down even more darker paths to try and steal some more money from someone else. I don't want them to just be permanently owing someone like something. It's already silly that they're in debt.
They're already silly, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen lots of speculation online, people saying, I think that Jenny's going to sell the Rovers you know, she's
Oh,
not
yes,
going to be,
I've
who's
seen-
going to be the new landlady of the Rovers.
It could happen, but
I don't want
it to happen.
I really cannot have that happen. Because
But
I just
equally-
feel like Jenny's not been given a chance to be the landlady properly.
I mean, she's been the landlady for a good 5 years at
I know,
least,
but
though,
a lot of
hasn't
that
she?
was during COVID, and that
Sure,
was
sure.
just not real life, was it? You know,
I wonder whether, you know...
we didn't have real life
But
for like a
it
year.
feels like the landlord / lady of the Rovers isn't the job it used to be.
No, I
so
know.
Jenny's
You're right.
got a bit of a poison chalice here
Yeah,
at the
I
moment.
do. I agree with
and
you.
if she sells it to Glenda or whatever, she gets out of the Rovers. Maybe it gives her a new lease of life, and she gets to, you know, buy a house on the street, get a boyfriend, and have the same sort of stories that all the other characters get. Whereas at the moment, she's constrained with... I mean, it is the Rovers, you know, a millstone round her neck.
It is a really
And
good
I can't believe I'm
question.
saying this.
It is a good point.
And she is absolutely at home in the Rovers.
What have they done to the job of landlady of the Rovers?
Yeah.
They've ruined it.
Yeah.
And they've got such
And
a great...
It's clearly nothing to do with
Landlady.
Jenny being a bad fit for it.
No, because she's bloody brilliant as being the landlady. Who
could
else
they
would be
put
as
in
good?
there?
Nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Glenda. Glenda would be good, but she's a very one-dimensional character at the moment. Jenny's got so much more backstory and history and...
Yeah.
You know, the stuff that they did with Glenda to try to make her a bit more of a rounded character, I think fell on its arse. And I love
totally.
Jodie Prenger. I think she's fabulous, and I do think she could do it, but not as Glenda is now. She's just too, like I said, one-dimensional. Think of
But it could give her more
it
dimensions
could
to be
do,
landlord,
but I just
landlady,
don't.
sorry.
Yeah, but the role as it is at the moment doesn't afford that kind of stuff. It used to in the old days,
Yeah.
but it doesn't anymore. You're completely right. It's not the same jobs it used to be.
Yeah. God, I can't believe I'm actually suggesting that it might be good for Jenny to
No,
get her out
I don't
the
want
Rovers.
her. No, I'd much rather they pulled their bloody fingers out their asses and made the job a proper.
If it was,
No,
if she was going,
Sean.
who would be your choice if she absolutely had to go? Because I'm kind of still thinking that Sally and Tim wouldn't be a bad fit. I think that they'd be very great, actually, as they're almost as a kind of Annie and Jack for the modern era. That could be a lot of fun.
I shall brook no more.
And no,
Cannot,
you just
no.
can't even consider
Well, I
it.
get what you're saying, but that would be Tim, wouldn't it?
Well,
You're speaking of Tim,
yes,
of the Sally and Tim.
you don't hate him as
relationship.
much these days.
That I cannot have that. I'm afraid.
No,
Debbie.
Debbie though, yeah, well. Less said about that one the better. Breakdown mechanic, talking about
I would
the
like to talk
Websters.
more about it, but I just feel too sad about the prospect of Jenny not being in the Rovers, and I can't really talk about
Okie
who I'd
dokie.
like to replace her with. But if anyone else wants to write in with what they want, if you want to betray Jenny,
Sell
then
her
feel
off,
free.
yeah. Right, so Abby is going through the ringer this week, really, after witnessing Mason dying in her arms almost, and bleeding out there at least, and being haunted by the ghost of Mason and now Seb,
And also having
Alfie disappear on her. Yes, it's not great. And she's also still really got a bee in her bonnet about the fact that Toya was sticking her neb in last week. She wasn't, but she seems to think she was, which is why it's still playing in Abby's mind what she overheard Leanne
She
saying
hasn't
about
said anything
Toya
about
and
it.
Imran. She
but
hasn't confronted it straight away.
It's perfectly plausible that she is thinking about
100%. So she kind of strides into the bistro later on in the episode and has a go at Toya and says, "Just stay the hell away from me. Keep your nose out of my business."
So I was like, hang on, what?
What have I done? Toya doesn't get what's going on, but that's the last we see of that.
I just want to say how funny it was that we talk about Leanne later, but it's so funny that Toya's just being slagged off left, right and centre at the moment on the show, because Abby's having a go at her on Monday. Then by Friday, Leanne's like, "Oh, her and Nick."
Yeah, she's a total
I
verbal
loved it.
punch bag this week, Toya.
Yeah, poor Toya.
So back home after work, Abby and Kevin talk about what's been going on. Well, Kevin tries to talk to her about it, but she doesn't really want to. She does make it clear to him, "I'm not going loopy though, like people are probably saying." And he's like, "I'm okay if I need to talk and have a bit of a hug." But actually, she is going loopy because she starts having audio flashbacks of the attack later. She's remembering what happened. She's remembering what she was saying to Mason. She's remembering Mason's last word, and she just has a bit of a crumble on the floor.
She should have played Tetris. You're supposed to play Tetris. I've
To
said
take
this
your
a
mind
million
off
times.
things.
No, it's to help you process after a traumatic event, and they've found that it statistically, like, significantly does reduce your like the likelihood that you'll get PTSD from something traumatic.
Oh, well, there we go. Jack's got a Switch. You could play it on that.
But I just tell you that when I play Tetris, I get PTSD from how traumatic it is to try to make the buttons work the way I want them to.
Yeah, I quite enjoy playing Tetris every now and then. I remember lending you the controller a few times. It just makes you mad.
I'm like, what is this? I said sideways, not down.
Wednesday. This is where it starts to go completely weird. But we got a good story behind part of it, so wait for that. So Abby telling Kevin, look, I'm surprised the police haven't come around to talk to me about the Mason case. And he says, well, it's not really anything to do with you, is it? You were there when it happened. Seems like that wasn't the right thing to say.
Kevin's like, every time he opens his mouth about this Mason stuff, he puts his foot in it. Because last week he was saying, well, it was only a matter of time before I got stabbed to death. Are you surprised about this?
Yeah.
And this week he's like, well, you're not that important. Why does everyone want to talk to you about it?
Poor Abby. Poor Abby. Debbie comes home later to find that Billy's in the lounge having a chat with Kevin. Was he talking about his balls then? Maybe? I can't remember. We didn't know at the time that's what it was, but maybe it was. I don't know. Billy kind of makes a hasty exit. Oh yeah, it was. Because this is the scene when Kevin tells Debbie, I found a lump. So we've got another cancer storyline, or possibly, depends how it goes. So, oh dear, what terrible drama that is. Abby, meanwhile, is having a go at Kit in the pub for not catching Logan yet. He doesn't want to hear about it and disappears off, so she's getting mega traumatised there. Debbie takes Kevin to the pub later to have a bit of an awkward sit. And I've really enjoyed, as horrible as the story is, and obviously you're not a big fan of it, are you?
No.
Gemma doesn't like cancer stories, as we all know, so she's not chuffed about this. But it has... when we said it on the spoiler cast, but for those of you who didn't listen to it, we'll say it again now. We found out about this Kevin story when we were at the press day back in early November, and a lot of the stuff that Kate Brooks was saying about this and that is coming in 2025. We were thinking, oh, that's good, oh, how exciting, oh, Rob's coming back, kind of smiling and clapping along. But when it got revealed that this is what's gonna the route that is gonna go down for Kevin, like,
boo.
We didn't boo. I was booing internally. I was not smiling at this. I was just like, oh, why have you said that? That's kind of spoilt the interview, really.
No, it didn't.
No,
it spoil it.
It didn't spoil it, but everything seemed to be, we were enjoying ourselves there, and that. Oh.
It wasn't like the end of the world.
No, I just like, really wish
they
hadn't said that bit and done that, because it's just miserable. It's really, really miserable.
And
whether it's Kevin's not going to die, is he? He's not going to die of cancer.
But every single thing I hate about these storylines is in this story. I was thinking, okay, Gemma, you can't die of testicular cancer, can you?
You can a bit.
I can't.
You can't. No.
Don't worry. I was thinking, okay, I think it might not trigger me because I can't get it. But then watching it, he's going through exactly the same steps as anyone would. It's all completely the same. It doesn't matter what cancer you've got. It's all just this, it's just the same, denial, fear, doubt, worry. Do I tell anyone? Going to the doctor, having that, examination, talking to the doctor saying, oh, it might be okay. Don't, we'll have a specialist. And then all you have to do, and just all of those same horrible, inevitable, inescapable, you're trapped feelings that you get from any of these storylines it's all coming back. And
I think that Mike Lavell's doing a really good job with it as well, because he's looking proper miserable this week, isn't he? Well, and he's got that kind of face that it can just falls naturally into a grump position.
For years.
You're right. Kevin's not really smiled much in the past decade, has he?
But I'm not doing well with this already. I thought I'd be all right with it, but I'm not. I'm not doing.
We're only a few episodes into it. I've got faith that, although it's probably going to develop into a not particularly nice direction, I don't think it's going to last for too long. I think it's going to be like when Robert, had it a few years ago.
I think I need to play Tetris.
You can do a bit of Tetris while I talk about this story. So yeah, we got Abby. What I was saying was, although I don't enjoy that part of it, it has allowed for some really nice family and friends scenes for Kevin. Well, Kevin and Debbie have been brilliant this week. There were some lovely scenes. What were you saying?
Well, that's one of the things that it was pitched to us about. Yeah. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to reveal anything from that that press conference, but it's the things that were spoken of are already coming to pass. I'll just say that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, they go to the Rovers. He says he found the lump a couple of days ago. Abby doesn't know about it yet. So speaking of Abby, she's in Seb's garden, talking to Seb. You know, she's kind of talking out loud, but as if it's talking to him, saying, "Oh, I remember. I miss you. I miss you every day. I remember when you asked if you could give me away at my wedding. I remember the necklace you gave me." As a bit more of a cry. I've seen some people slagging off Sally Carman and her acting online this week and saying that she's crying and wailing too much. But I think she can do no wrong in my eyes. Sorry.
This is why I don't. I just find it baffling when people talk about, about acting and they're like, oh no, that person's not very good, and
She's
I'm like,
fantastic.
I don't think so.
She is fantastic, and I don't like all the misery. I prefer jolly, chirpy, happy, fun Abby. Of course I do, but she certainly can be very believable in with the tragedy and the drama as well. So whatever. As we find out at the end of the episode, we also have a scene. I've written here in my notes, Debbie tells Ken if he wants to get the test done. So I don't know what's wrong with Ken. I assume that's Kevin.
Well, he's got poison.
Debbie says, yeah, Ken, what's he going to get test for and found? Yeah, she says to Kev, look, you want to get your test done, I'm going to come with you, and I love you, and they have a cuddle, and it was lovely. Meanwhile, what's going on with Abby in the kitchen of number 13? Well, she's getting a little visitation, isn't she? She's sitting in the kitchen at the table, and then Seb turns up. Ghost Seb? Memory Seb? How would you describe that scene?
It was a memory, wasn't it, of when she was getting married and he gave her a necklace.
I don't remember whether there was a scene where he puts the necklace on her like that.
I can imagine it was something that, if we didn't see it, I can imagine it happened off screen.
I'm going to say, I mean, I can't go back on what I said on the short now. I did find this scene a little bit naff. It was yet another one which... It was. I think it was naff. But I have seen lots of people saying that was really affecting. I was bawling my eyes out.
Yeah,
it did not hit right with me. And it's a shame. I was kind of looking forward to enjoying the scene. But
my issue with it was that we knew this was going to happen.
Well, yeah, let's come back to that in a minute.
And so I couldn't enjoy it properly because it was like, oh, here's the scene.
We've been building up to this for a little while. Yeah, so basically she's sitting there on the kitchen table and then Seb walks in, or does he just float into existence? I don't remember. She's holding the necklace in her hand. It's quite cleverly done. And then he takes the necklace, goes around the back of her and puts it around her neck. And it was clever because she's...
It's clever because he's a ghost, so how's he touching it? In
the scene where it's obviously just Sally Carman there, Abby in the kitchen, she's holding the necklace, and then it kind of cuts to a scene later on where he takes it. I'm sure there was some clever stuff going on there, but I just thought that the music that accompanied it was too over dramatic for me.
Okay,
and then he puts it around her neck, gives her a kiss. She has a cry, and then that's the end of that scene. It wasn't even the last scene of the episode. I thought it might work well as it, but there was drama going on with Cassie, I suppose.
The problem with it for me is that it's like how many ghosts now we've had? Yeah. It's like the third ghost we've had since November.
Yeah. Again, we keep saying every time another one appears, we say, isn't it funny that we did that Patreon episode back in November about who do we want to have the next posthumous appearance? And back then we had no idea
and when
there were loads more still to come. And
when we talked about them too, we were adding things like, if you appeared on a video, or if somebody like remembered something, or if you had a flashback or something. I'm not even including Joel in this because he's the fourth person. So you've had Joel, Paul turned up to Billy in a vision to try when he was dying. We had Joel appear after he died in flashback so that we would find out what happened to him. We had Richard Hillman appear to Gail in a dream.
Do a little bit of a waltz on the carpet at number 8.
And now we've got Seb.
But then also Mason. Mason appeared to give Heather to Abby.
So 5 people appeared after they died, and 4 of those were ghosts or visions or dreams.
Yeah.
And that is in the space of 3 months, because we're going from November here. And that's
It's
genuinely
weirdly
unacceptable
too much.
because in the course of Coronation Street, we had to work really hard to think of all the times this has happened. And we were including things like when Alma made a video that was shown at her funeral. That's very acceptable and normal. The weirdest thing that's happened in Coronation Street was when Vera came back for Jack.
And I'm going to say that hands down that's still the best.
But I think it's being tarnished in retrospect now because it's become commonplace.
Yeah,
And
there
like,
is
for
no
example,
in no universe should this be commonplace on Coronation Street.
When we was looking, we spoke earlier about the 14 times issue that came today, and they were talking about ghosts, and one of the ones they talked about was Ivy's ghost, and she didn't appear.
No.
They talked about her like, oh, I saw her in the window, or I saw her on the landing, or whatever. That's much better than what we've got now. And you know, I'm saying this as somebody who loves ghosts so much. I started watching the Most Haunted episode that was set in Coronation Street last night again because I just love ghosts in Coronation Street.
You like all things paranormal, don't you?
But this is just too much now.
Yeah, and I would, and it was nice seeing Seb again, but it would have been more affecting had we not had all these other ones.
All of the other ones.
It should not happen anywhere near. Some people would say it should never happen. Absolutely fine to say, but I don't mind it every now and then. But it's really ridiculous now. Even when Jeff was appearing as a ghost, it wasn't every other episode, and it's the same with all the effects. It feels like almost every single episode now there's some kind of effect or music or something.
Yeah,
and it's not right.
And I can't remember who was talking about this, but someone on Twitter was saying, like, when was the last time somebody on Coronation Street died and didn't come back?
Yeah, I think we said about that in the podcast last week, or at least the spoiler cast. Yeah,
it's silly.
The last 6 or 7 deaths on Coronation Street, all but one of them has come back. And well, there were flashbacks of Stephen, weren't there?
For goodness sake! I mean, flashbacks are different. You couldn't have told Joel's story without that device.
And Seb's come back this week hasn't been the same as like Paul had a conversation with Billy. That was a dream. Richard was the same.
It was a dream.
It was a dream. Seb is. I don't even.
Well,
what was going on there?
Yeah, but Seb's.
Was that just was it a memory? Was it her imagination?
To me, this is a bit like what happened with Carla when she saw Rana, where it's like a psychosis. But it's interesting too that she's been haunted by him in many different ways because she had the voice message, she saw his bloody face, and she also has now seen him appear, to put the necklace on. But what was that? Was that just like wishful thinking? You know what I mean?
Think so.
Like, it's like she's remembering him and her memory is being shown to you because we can't hear her thoughts. So in that way, I don't think it was a dream. It's just, like I said, her imagination, which is different from a dream.
But you can't keep thinking, well, it's not exactly the same.
Just flinging it in every other week is another dead person on Coronation Street. What are we doing?
And we've said before about, when if we want to dredge the well of ex-characters to come back, it feels like so many of them are dead and they can't come back. But this isn't the way to get around that by saying,
Imran going to come back?
Yeah, literally. Is Toya going to be haunted by Imran?
She really
There is
could.
no reason now to think that Imran is not going to come back and
absolutely
and haunt
no
Toya.
reason not why that wouldn't happen.
No, and that's it. Just doesn't feel right.
And it also kind of like I'm just going to bring in.
Say get Michelle Keegan to come back and haunt Rob.
Yeah, well she just had a baby, so she's busy.
Well, it doesn't matter. Maybe she can haunt him by voicemail as well.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of when I think it felt like Doctor Who jumped the shark, and I can't remember what happened, but I can't remember what happened now, but was it when he went on with Rose somewhere in a parallel dimension? It's like, oh, okay, well, nobody ever dies then. So if somebody dies on Doctor Who now, I don't care because they'll just come back at some point when they feel like it. Like even though Coronation Street is clearly not got that bad, the fact that I'm comparing it to a science fiction show, you know what I mean? Like when someone dies on Corrie, I'm like, oh, well, I wonder when they're going to come back as a ghost.
And is it giving false hope to people who lose a loved one and think, don't worry.
Oh yeah, in Coronation
Maybe I'll
Street.
have a psychotic episode where imagine them putting a bit of jewellery on me.
Like you're there doing gritty realism and sort of like, oh, we're raising awareness of all these important things and it's really important. And then here's a ghost as well because Who's paying you?
It's very easy to say ghost almost in a dismissive way.
But it is.
I mean,
they aren't all ghosts.
They're not,
you're right. They're not all ghosts, but it's still dead people appearing after they've died.
Yeah. And it was lovely to see Harry again on the show. Should we? I want to say my story now because
we knew this was happening because
we knew this. This is a very long-winded story, but I know people have been looking forward to hearing this.
Oh yeah.
So we had obviously 2 trips to Manchester up in November. And the first one was when we were looking around the filming sites, and we went to that big hotel place in Trafford and the other building where they had the A meeting.
Oh yeah, we did.
And we came back there, and then that takes us to the set. And I was like, I might want to do a bit of front gate loitering. And you were like, no way, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to do any loitering. I'm going back to the hotel. So I stayed with some people there, and that's when I saw Samia and Luca going in. But some of the other people that were at the gate there were saying, you know what we just saw? We just saw Seb. Seb came in here. And I was like, what? Yeah, he came in, he's just here half an hour ago, and he was taking photos with us. And I was like, oh man, really?
Did they show you photos?
No, they didn't. And I was like, really? Is that... Why would he be... I was baffled. But although by that point, I think I was maybe thinking, oh, okay, is he going to come back in a vision, perhaps, or something along those lines?
With the best will in the world, when you told me this story, I was like, I think they've got the wrong name.
Did you?
I think they've seen someone who was in Corrie, but they're using the wrong name.
It could have also have been a case of, is he there to film a documentary?
I was thinking this the other day, right? I was imagining if I was Kate Brooks and I wanted to hide one of these returns, I think I'd stage a fake reunion party, or you know what I mean. Anyway,
yeah.
carry on.
So I was really miffed that I missed him, because I wanted to find out about that. But oh well,
yeah.
I didn't give it much thought. Following week we go there, and this is for the press day, and we go through the whole of the press day. We got spoilt by a load of things. We were told willingly spoiled. We were told that. I can't remember what the wording was that she used.
Non-linear storytelling.
No. I'm not. Seb coming back isn't non-linear storytelling.
No, it's not.
We were told that there was going to be a stabbing. We were going to be told that Abby was going to be particularly affected by it. They were very kind of, not...
It's really fun
purposefully
watching them,
misdirecting with it. It's like they said, we're not going to say who's being stabbed. We're not going to say whether they survive. Yeah. But they said that Abby's going to go through some trauma. And then that made me think, what that person was saying last week about Seb coming back... Is this all going to be part of Abby's trauma? Maybe that's true. Oh, well, that would be interesting to see him again, I suppose. Go through the rest of the couple of days that we're in Manchester. Final morning in Manchester. We'd been talking all week about wanting to get a photo from the balcony, because this was when we were staying opposite the flat, and we did that great Corrie from on high photos and videos and whatever. And I was like, I'm going to go and stand by the Corrie set, and I'm going to wave, and then you're going to video me from there. So if you've watched the video from that day, you'll have seen the clip of me waving up. Literally, I walked across the bridge, went at the gate, waved, went to turn back. I was outside the studios for no more than 30 seconds, literally. Turned round, ready to walk back away from the studios, and just coming down the steps from over the bridge, I saw him. I saw Seb. I saw Harry. And it was... I've said before that I think that when I saw Shelley King, because I've seen her outside the gates quite a few times, and from a distance I was like, I think that's Shelley. I recognise her shape. Although I've never seen Harry Visononi in real life. And I wasn't expecting him, obviously, to see him there. I just went there to be videoed by you. Mm-hmm. Right from a good distance away. I was like, I think that's him. And he had a maroon hoodie on, and he was clearly trying to, be incognito about this. And he was walking towards the gate, and I was walking away from the gate, and as I was getting closer and closer, it's like, bloody is him as well. And I was like, Harry? Hello, Harry. Hiya, Harry. And I could tell that he stopped. He's like, busted. And he didn't know who I was, obviously, but I said, it's Michael from Conversation Street. We have had contact in the past, because he's recorded something for a Conversation Street award before, but very, very minimal contact we've had with each other. And I could tell that he was really very awkward about being caught out, because this is supposed to be a secret. And I was like, what are you doing back then? And I knew that he wouldn't tell me. I said, what are you doing back here then? He was like, don't worry, if you're not allowed to tell me, are you? No, I can't tell you. So can we get a photo? And he's like, oh yeah, okay then. So we did a selfie, and I was like, right, thank you. I'll see you when you're back in. Yeah, he wouldn't tell me anything. He was with me for about a minute or so, and then he went in. So that was the story of how I found out that Seb was getting back quite a long way away. And then I sent Sally Carmen a photo of me and him. I was like, I found your son. I can't remember how she responded to that. She's like, oh yeah, oh it's my boy, he's back. Oh no, she said, we're calling him JR around the set, like Bobby Ewing. Bobby Ewing. We're calling him Bobby Ewing around the set.
Because we did even talk about that, didn't we? We were talking about Dallas at the time.
Yeah, we were.
And that's one of the reasons why we were talking about it. If you listen back to the podcast,
we were talking about Dallas because Sally Carmen had brought up in a message to me that they're calling him Bobby Ewing. But so then so we've just had to keep this a secret. And I said, I'm not going to tell anyone. Don't worry, we won't say it. And then later on that day, that's when you saw Chris Gascoigne waiting outside the hotel, and I was away, and then we put something on Twitter about you meeting Chris Gascoigne, and people were saying, oh my gosh, is Peter coming back? And I was like, what? No, if we'd seen somebody outside the Corrie set that we weren't allowed to say, no way would we say
keep it secret.
And I purposefully said that because I knew that we'd just seen Harry Vizzanoni, and earlier this week I was finally able to quote tweet that tweet with a picture of me and Seb. So that is my very long story of how I met. Yeah, there wasn't really anything interesting, and there was there, but
no,
it was just so cool that I've spent quite a long time outside that gate at times waiting for someone to come along, and nobody has. And this time I was literally there for 30 seconds, and in comes somebody who was a massive surprise and a big old spoiler, and something we had to keep quiet. Yeah. So anyway, that was my story of meeting Harry Vizzanoni. This goes to prove that we were very, very good. Apart from the fact that I texted the picture to Sally Carmen, but I assumed she knew. So that's
I thought she might have been involved in in the know. There.
But it was funny that in the first week that we were there, and this person supposedly saw Harry at the gates, you'd have thought that maybe it might have got out that way, but
no, it didn't seem to, did it?
No, they've got no reason to keep it a secret. We've got a huge reason to keep it a secret because we want Coronation Street to stay on our side. And anyway, there we go.
Because we don't do spoilers.
Story. He was very nice.
Don't do spoilers. We don't do gossip.
Yeah, there was that as well, of course. But anyway, that's the story of that. So back to what actually happened on Coronation Street. So Gemma's been very distracted because Gemma has just been playing Tetris. Did you just download that? You didn't have Tetris on your phone, did you?
Turned out I had it. I must have been traumatised another time.
How are you feeling? Has it cheered you up a bit?
No, because I can see we're going to talk about it more now.
Yeah, Friday is all about Kevin's balls. So Abby's getting some water from the kitchen at the beginning of Friday's episode, and then she sees Seb's bloody face in the mirror on the windowsill, so that's a bit of a morning shock for her. Kevin's a bit down as he gets himself ready for the work later in the episode, and Abby says there's been more about Mason on the news. I just can't escape it. Still don't think I can face it today, so she's not going into work. He's having to hold the fort there at the garage. But he's not at the garage. He's gone to doctors, hasn't he? The next time we see Kevin, he's doing up his flies in front of Dr. Gaddis. So either he's been having a jolly good time with her on the operating table, not the operating table, the assessment table. What do you call it? Doctor's table. Examination slab. Or he's been having his balls fondled.
Dr. Gaddis is happily married to a lady.
I know. I was a little disappointed that they didn't
get to see the balls?
No, I don't want to see Kevin's balls. Thank you very much.
I don't know. Just checking.
I was kind of waiting for there to be a little bit more humour in this scene, and I know it's a serious story.
No, Dr. Gaddis is professional.
But after that scene of Hope wanting the pregnancy test last year,
you can't make a funny story.
No, that you can, because this is one of the other things, like we said, that Kate Oates, Brooks,
I did it.
I did it. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is what happens when you give the producer the same name. One of the things she said was there's going to be some nice things with friends, and they'll be able to have a bit of a joke about it as well. And I wondered whether we get any there, but we didn't. Dr. Gaddis is just saying, look, probably nothing. Go and get yourself an ultrasound. He's not looking very reassured at all. He goes over to the garage, tells Debbie about it, so she invites him out for lunch. I suppose that goes well. I can't remember. He goes and he has a scene with Tim later. Eventually, he says it to Tim. He says, I found a lump on my balls.
I thought this was interesting because Tim's there and he sits down and there's obviously an air of awkwardness because Kevin's giving off vibes that he's picking up on.
And it's not really the sort of thing that you talk about with your mates, is it?
But I don't know how he's giving off vibes because he looks the same as he always does, which is miserable.
I think he was looking extra sullen today. It's funny that Tim, it must have been ever so slight, and Tim's not the most sensitive of guys, is it? I'm sure Sally will attest to that. Yet he was able to pick up on those signals. If only he was able to pick up on the signals of get your feet off of the table, or I think it's time your turn to load the dishwasher this time, Tim. She'd be in a much better place with him. But anyway,
what
I
was
really enjoyed
interesting
this stuff
about this scene really was that when he says, I found a lump, Tim says, he kind of trots out what you're supposed to say. Like, oh, that's the hard bit, isn't it? Just going to get it done. Good for you. Well done. And it feels very stilted. I give Joe Tatine like props for how well he delivered these lines, because it was very much like, oh no, what do I say? Let me consult my interior brain Rolodex of what do you say when your mate tells you this. Oh, okay, I'll just say this. And it came off as slightly hollow. And Kevin's like, he starts talking about cancer, and Kevin's like, well, they haven't even said I've got cancer or anything. And then Tim finally does break it down properly and sort of says, do you want a hug?
Yeah, it was really lovely.
It was like, the first response was this kind of robotic, this is what you have to say, I'm just going to trot out, but I'm not sure. And both of them were so uncomfortable. But when he finally kind of like went through and kind of exhausted his interior like encyclopedia of what to say to your friend, he could finally like be honest and open about, are you feeling all right?
I thought it was in many ways it was a natural sounding conversation.
No, but this is true. This is why I liked it, because it felt really honest and real. Because when somebody says this, we're of an age now, they're older than us, but we're of an age now where people, your friends and your family are going to start having health issues. And what the hell do you say? We know what you're supposed to say, but what do you really say? Yeah. And I thought this was a really good demonstration of both of those things happening at once. What you're supposed to say, I don't really know. Does this feel honest? Is this really what I want to say?
Even the revelation from Kevin, which, the fact that he said balls, and I think that's probably the first time balls has been said in that sense on Coronation Street. Even like when you've had, I don't remember how it was brought up when Robert had it, or even when there's been breast cancer storylines. They don't say I got a lump on my boobs, but the fact I think it felt very natural for Kevin to use the word balls to try and just say it as it is, really. Very well written and performed scene from all of them, and as horrible as these storylines are for both of us, it does give me some hope that there's going to be more very well written, performed, warm, friendly, familial scenes to come.
But you see, the thing is, we already had. I feel like we've just gone through this with Paul. It's not the same thing, but we've already had. Watching people break down and have honest conversations and revelations and discoveries and all of the things that happen to you when you have a diagnosis like this.
Well, I think Toya's probably the best comparison, really, isn't it? But yeah, you're right. It doesn't need medical stories to have that. Do we need every
year?
Yes, we do, says
I'm not
going
to keep saying about it.
Yeah.
This is why I don't like talking about it, because I don't have anything new to say.
Well, I'm sure it's the only medical storyline we'll be getting this year. I know it's the fact that it's going at the same time as flipping Carla's kidney as well. It's ridiculous, to be quite frank. But if it means more Websters, it means more Websters.
Medical storylines.
Yeah.
I'd even take affairs, and I hate affairs. They're boring. I'd even rather they did that.
Can you imagine if there'd been a story in the 60s where Gamma Garments, picture the scene, Doreen's there, Emily there, Leonard Swindley comes in, it's like, excuse me, Miss Nugent, I need to tell you that I have found a lump on my balls.
Pardon the expression.
If you'll pardon the expression.
Hey, Mr. Swindley.
You're not asking me to examine them, are you?
You touched
Absolutely not.
You touched yourself, Mr. Swindley. And Doreen's going, a kiss. I don't think very
Go
few
on then,
people
Leonard, whip them out, let's have a look.
I don't think many people are going to get the references.
Don't matter, the people.
But if you get it, you get it.
You get it, yeah. Anyway. Kevin comes home later. And he goes back into number 13, but it turns out that he's left the keys in the door. Debbie notices this, doesn't she? And she lets herself in, finds Abby asleep on the sofa, wakes her up, and Abby's panicking because, unbeknownst to her, Kevin's just
she was asleep, went to sleep with Alfie.
Yeah, and then when she wakes up, Alfie's not there. I'm not really vibing with the Alfie's gone missing aspect of this, unless he is going to go missing properly.
I think the problem is that Alfie's been missing for most of his life, as far as we're concerned.
He has. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Where's Alfie? We're like, who? Oh.
Yeah. He's in there, little cutie pie, that Alfie.
Oh, he is very cute.
Anyway, Abby's. This is what I'm not liking about it. Her saying, "Oh, it's your fault. What have you done with Abby? What have you done with Alfie?" She's like accusing Debbie, isn't she? And Debbie's like, "Oh, hang on a minute. Let's have a look." She's really shrieking away, and then Kevin's just like, "Chill your boots. I've got him. He's upstairs." It's all a bit fraught, but yeah, this is the angle of it I'm not really loving. Abby is left alone with Kevin later. He's clearly a bit bladdered after that lunchtime booze up to try and drown out the pain of his recent diagnosis, or sending off to get a diagnosis. And then he has to admit to her that he's found a lump. And then we get effects of the week as Abby is getting all the white noise kind of effects as Kevin's telling her all about this. It works sometimes, but not every episode. Come on. He's like, I didn't tell you before because of everything else that you've been going through. She can't cope with this, decides to go out for a walk with Alfie, and of course she just ends up in Seb's garden having another cry. This is when she gets the answer phone message. I can't. Maybe we should have watched this again. Was it the same answer phone message that Seb left her just before he got beaten up by Corey?
Oh, yeah.
Because his death was all surrounding an answer phone message, and that was a key piece of evidence at court, wasn't it? So I'm going to say it probably should have been the same one if it wasn't, but I don't know. People will know. She chucks the phone on the floor.
But this is right. Okay, I know this is not what happened, but did she get a message? But she just heard a different message.
I don't know.
She's like, hi, this is Dr. Gaddis. I can't get hold of Kevin, but he does have counselling to come in immediately.
Yeah, and what she heard is, Mum, I'm on my way back.
I've got to chop his balls off now, otherwise it's going to spread. So just get him here in the next 5 minutes and everything will be okay. And she's like, ah!
Yeah, and then you cut to Gaddis in the medical centre, sort of saying, Moira, she just hung up on me.
Well,
she just sounds like she chucked the phone on the floor.
We're going to have to contact social services because he's clearly in an abusive relationship. She's trying to kill him. This is why I don't like talking about cancer stories, because my coping mechanism is humour, and that was incredibly dark.
It's okay.
And offensive.
It's okay. I'm thinking it's going to go that way because I am not in any way worried that Kevin's going to die from this, is he? He's clearly not, and I'm just.
I don't know. I'm coping as best as I know.
So I think that they will.
Me.
I think the fact that it's Kevin and Tim,
I know that.
and I'm sure Steve's going to get involved as well, and maybe Tyrone. I'm sure it's going to be a lads talk about your balls sort of storyline.
Let's all get in a circle and check each other's balls.
Yeah, exactly. Check the balls of the man to your left.
Everyone turning cough.
Exactly. Yeah. And that'll be it. But I suppose it's the fact that it's happening at the same time as Abby's trauma that's making it.
Well, this is part of the drama of the story is that they're both going through their own separate things and they're supposed to support one another.
Yeah.
But it feels a bit like what's going on with Shona and David, where they're both also experiencing separate issues and they're not communicating and coming together as a couple to support one another.
Yeah, but I
don't know.
But at least it's a story about couples, and it's not like Abby. And again, I'm got my touching wood an awful lot with this. At least Abby's not taking it as an opportunity to go and sleep with another guy to try and get over the trauma.
We don't know yet.
We don't. I really, really hope not. But anyway, Abby kind of calms down, heads over to Roy's. This was a lovely scene, wasn't it? Abby in the cafe with Roy. Alfie's doing a bit of colouring in of dinosaurs, and she tells him that she's been hearing voices and stuff. And she's been seeing Seb, and Roy's just being lovely and understanding, and says, "Look, you need to talk to Kevin about it." He wants to talk to her more, but she heads home, and we don't really hear anything more about that, do we? So that was Kevin and Abby's drama. I do want to bring up something that we haven't mentioned yet, and you touched on it last week with the disappearing serving hatch, but Is that a new kitchen? Have they we see
Yes.
inside number 13 so rarely that I'm not really sure anymore.
I do think it's new. It looks different. They've got like
They've got a feature wall, haven't they? This is a tribute to Hilda's Muriel, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're
it's
right.
just shunted across to the left a little bit. It is the tackiest thing I've ever seen.
It's a red sports car parked in front of the Eiffel Tower.
It's like so.
Do you think this is what
hideous.
Abby and Kevin dream of? Like when they retire, they're going to get in a car and drive to France and annoy the French people by driving on the wrong
It's
side of the
just
road.
so horrible.
Michael, some
Sorry
people
to
like
anyone.
it.
Oh, it's
It
not
does
for
look
me.
like the sort of thing you could get in IKEA that comes in a frame, and you're like, I'm not going to keep that picture.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you were more in arms about that spice
Oh my
rack,
god!
weren't you?
I never did a post about it.
Oh yeah, you were going to tweet it, weren't you?
I was disgusted.
The spice rack with 4 jars on.
Talk about making us look bad on the global stage. People already rip on us for our cooking in this country, and you have got the audacity to appear on national television with a spice rack that's not even full. It's got 4 packets of herbs on it. I want to know, what on earth do you think Kevin and Abby are putting herbs
What
in?
do you think? What would you put money on being the most 4 common herbs?
Thyme, rosemary, bay leaves and parsley.
Oh yeah, parsley's got to be on there.
Parsley,
hasn't it?
because okay, it's going to degrade really quickly. Bay leaves, you should have one already in your garden. Rosemary,
we don't have
ditto.
a garden, Gemma.
Thyme, ditto. They do. They've got a guinea. They've got like a yard.
That's a very middle classy thing to say.
It is not. I'm not. No, my family is not middle class. Okay, maybe I am, but we always had fresh herbs. For goodness sake.
Yeah, but
Growing your own bay tree. A bay tree, there's probably loads of them in Chernobyl right now.
I wonder whether like one of them's oregano just to stick on Kevin's pizza, maybe.
Or I love it. No, I think he'd probably have a packet of like dried chilies
I reckon that.
and that stinky like pre-grated parmesan crap.
No, I think that one of it is powdered garlic that's just gone hard.
Yeah, you have to rub it in with a chopstick. Like, Kevin, you have to order some more Chinese food to get chopstick to get out the garlic powder. I want to make spaghetti and meatballs.
Oh yes. Yeah. So anyway, that's our thoughts on Kevin and Abby's, and it's also actually it's got the fake bricks, hasn't it? Like the like.
No,
the
those
wall.
are all right. Those we had similar
But to be
thing
honest,
in our bathroom.
They're not for me, but they're not supposed to be for me, and I think they actually do fit that family.
And I liked also,
really well.
I'll give them props for the echoing of the red from the sports car. They did have accessories.
They have they got
grey
red
and
is
red.
the highlight colour, isn't it?
I can just imagine the thought process between Abby and Kevin coming up with the colour scheme of grey and red.
I can see them going to like B&Q and seeing one of the
sitting down
show
and
kitchens there, going, "Hey, that
there's a
looks
guy
grand."
there. There's a guy there going, "Oh, what do you want in your kitchen?" I'm like,
Kevin's like, "Can I have a car, please? I like
Look.
cars."
I've seen this picture of Eiffel Tower and a sports car, and I think it's dead classy. So what I want to do is build the whole kitchen around this photo.
Yeah, do you think it is?
And he's like, we can absolutely do that, sir, but what you're going to have to remember is you can only have 4 herbs in the spice rack, otherwise it's going to throw the balance of the whole kitchen off. Oh, don't worry about that. Don't use herbs in our cooking.
Yeah, I mean, they are a bit of a microwave meal for 2, aren't they, to be fair?
Aren't we horrible?
Anyway.
Aren't we snobby?
I don't know why I've put it in this scene particularly, but in my notes for this storyline, I assume it was the beginning of a scene. We did get the most amazing moment of the
revelation.
week, which was Dirk had a line.
Indeed.
Dirk from the factory, lovely Adam Blees, had a line. He said, "Indeed." I don't have anything more to say about it particularly, other than wow, who was expecting that? I think he's had one line once before.
Yeah, he has. I like to think he was giving me advice about where to look for jobs.
Indeed, yeah, maybe. So it was great. It had to be with Jenny, doesn't it? He was.
Oh, I love that. I thought that was great.
I thought that was great. He was texting me earlier, and I said, "How did you get a line?" And he's like, "Oh, just the director was Mickey Jones there, and he just wanted to capture a bit of ad-libby banter between them." So apparently, the two of them were just back and forth saying random things, and that happened to be the one that
Jenny said.
She'd said, I bet they're feral or something, and he says, "Indeed." So I can only imagine what they were talking about there. I'm going to say maybe it's the journos that have been chasing Sally Ann Matthews recently. But I don't know. It was a nice little moment. Maybe it's going to be another 5 years until Dirk says anything again. But let's move on to the next story, which is the knife crime story, which is the big headline grabber last week that's been relegated to, what are we, 5th place now in this week's Coronation Street. And we start by having Dylan being told by Adam that they found... There's been CCTV footage of the Mason brothers, the Radcliffe brothers, putting the knife in the bin or something, so that could do his case good. They're talking on Monday morning about Mason's funeral, and Sally and Eileen and George are wanting to pay for it, or they're kind of upset that he's getting a bit of a pauper's funeral, and he's really been sanctified quite a lot, hasn't he? I know that he wasn't as bad as his brothers, but they're saying that this guy should have a lovely, wonderful funeral because I know he's a victim and everything, but...
We sound like Kevin.
What?
You sound like Kevin now.
I know, I do. Kevin will not be subsidising this funeral in any way, shape or form.
It's sad that he's young.
Of course it is, of course.
And, there are lots of people in this country, unfortunately, who are also victims of crime, who were caught up in similar things. Doesn't mean that they...
I'd really like, and I don't know how it's going to happen or if it's going to happen, but Mason's mum or dad or someone to be involved, If he gets a funeral, this mum that he was calling out for, I think that could be quite an affecting scene.
It's really nice to imagine that Mason went to Germany and, started a new life and was wonderful But he was a bit naughty, wasn't he?
He was a bit naughty.
Maybe he might be naughty in Germany. We don't know. But you're right. There is a tendency on Coronation Street to when somebody's supposed to be popular, everyone just talks about how great and wonderful they are. The same thing kind of happened a bit, and I was moaning about it with Roy. Like Roy's great. He's fine. He's not like a saint, like Carla was saying.
Yeah. Anyway,
we're just human beings. That should be good enough. A human being died. He didn't have to be a saint for people to care about him.
I suppose it is, Betsy still cares about him, and the idea that he would be getting literally nothing. Has he got any other
really
mates?
horrible.
I don't know. His brothers aren't going to go along. He would just have a standard no. It feels like it'd be a no witness. Shove him in the incinerator funeral. So it is nice of the other people to want to do something about it. But
for anyone to have that is sad because they didn't, they had no friends or family.
But I wonder whether Mason did actually have any other friends. They've just not cast them yet. I don't know. Is Mrs. Crawshaw going to go along? Because is he still no, he doesn't go to the school there anymore, does he?
She's like, I'm not bloody going.
Because he's at college on the course now.
Yeah. His tutor should go.
Yeah, exactly. Betsy finds Dylan drowning his sorrows later. He's got a bottle of vodka. He's not doing well on everything that's happened because
paralytic.
Yeah, well, he was like
drooling on himself.
He was in Scally's Alley, wasn't he? Yeah. He was like
proper. That's where he was stabbed.
Mason was stabbed, exactly, and he's feeling very sorry for himself.
He's literally wallowing.
He really, really is. He blames himself for Mason's death. The poor boy having this weighing on his shoulders, he's not completely wrong. He definitely does have a part to play in it.
Legally, he does.
Well, yeah, exactly. I was looking this up. I can't remember. I was looking at... Because he gets charged at the end of Wednesday's episode with possession of a bladed article or something like that. And there's like a table that you can look at. And was it this? And that did you have it in... Is it either a public place or a place where there could be vulnerable people? Or is it something else? One of them's a category A, one of them's a category B. And then there's like a... But was it this, that, or the other? And how severe the nature of the crime was? It seems like a good year and a half is maybe the minimum that he could be getting.
Does it count as a near vulnerable people because it was near a playground?
Yeah, I would just say so.
Yeah, I would say so. If I was the prosecutor, I'd definitely be harping on about that.
Yeah, for sure. So but I think for him, it's not. He's not worried about going to prison. I think he said, "I deserve to be punished," but it's what's weighing on his soul of. If I hadn't had that knife, Mason would be busy cooking up a storm in Germany at the moment. You could send him
to prison for 100 years and Mason would still be dead.
Yeah, exactly. Betsy can't cope with this. She gets up and hurried off.
It's a lot.
And maybe this wasn't the scene. I think here he was sitting on
Well,
the
he's
side.
got vodka and he's drinking.
Yeah, it's later on.
At this point, he's drinking. He's starting.
Yeah, that's right, because it's Liam that finds him later, isn't it? Sally and the others are in the meantime are having a little meeting about this funeral, and Billy seemingly a little bit reluctant to have a part in it. But yeah, Liam finds Dylan in the Ginnell later, and he does a bit of sick, doesn't he? Very nicely done. Good job, Liam McShane.
Spew.
And Liam McConnor calls for somebody to help him. Alia's with her boss later, and with that speed dial here, I can't remember. He's telling her.
This reminded me of the guy at the bar who, when Evelyn was going to that law conference, he was going, I like being a lawyer because I like to represent evil people.
Yeah.
And this guy was doing the same thing.
He was. He was saying, these Radcliffes, they're a gift of a family. They're clearly from the wrong side of the track. People like that are always going to get in trouble. It's basically people like this that are keeping us rolling in cash. People on the jury are always going to feel sorry for their pity stories as well, so sometimes they're easy to get off. Just need to lay it on thick that the Radcliffes didn't bring the knife, and it's easy street, really. And Alia's like, you're being very flippant about this. I don't think she calls them out on it, does she? But you can tell that she's feeling a little bit uncomfortable with the situation.
I'd like to delve more into her character on this, because these are the sorts of people that were, she was being stabbed by before, like being the knife crime story before.
I can't remember.
About racism.
Yeah.
And if I would, I don't know, is it bad to lump them all together? Is this guy wrong? I don't know. I mean, Mason's, like you're saying, Mason's like turning over a new leaf is very, very short-lived, and
it was there to help build sympathy with the audience before his inevitable demise.
And clearly, lots of people have done that and turned their lives around. But I also get the feeling that like Alia shouldn't be in this game if she can't handle what he's saying.
Don't be a lawyer if you can't deal with people who are
and there's also an element of
wrong end of the tracks.
Compassion fatigue built into all these jobs, whereby police, even people I know who work in the medical field. After a while, you see the same people with the same problems, and you get cynical.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing your job, I think you
have to kind of divorce yourself from it at some point, don't you? Thinking it's just a job.
I genuinely believe that there are people like this who work in this profession. I also believe there are people who are very compassionate, but who's the best at their job? Is this the only thing that really matters? And I'm not quite. I mean, I think my problem with this is that Alia's sanctimonious at the best of times.
Well, she wants to have people singing songs about her, going, all she cares about is love.
Yeah, basically.
I can't remember whether it was this week or last week that she goes, stabbing's bad. I've still got scars. I were a victim too.
Yeah, I know. But it really doesn't. It feels as though we're supposed to obviously hate this guy.
He was kind of fun.
He was being a dick.
Yeah, he was.
But if he does his job correctly, it doesn't matter what he thinks. And the same with Alia. Like, I can see her being blinded by compassion. But I think that's going to, in the long run, make you worse. I don't know. Is it going to burn you out?
I don't think we need any more lawyers on the street. So if this storyline is Alia realising, you know what, this isn't for me. Sorry for all that money that I had to spend. Did she pay for her course in Ireland or not?
I don't know.
I know Adam gave her a really big book.
He gave her a big book.
Yeah.
And it says, criminals are be criminal.
It just said, I'll be here for you when I get back with a warm bed and a storyline.
I just like, it's really difficult because those three lads, they are just too, until they made Mason into like, a semi-regular, they were just two one-dimensional criminal boys. That what this guy is saying is completely true.
Yeah, I know.
Just like...
But we're supposed to go, I can't believe.
But in the context of this show, I think he's right. Even if in real life he's being an asshole.
Yeah. Speaking of the Radcliffes, we did get a glimpse of Logan later. He's loitering about by the tram stop, isn't he? And overhearing the conversation that Billy's having with some of the Metcalfes, I think, about not wanting to do the funeral. He's like, oh, after Paul, I don't think I can do a funeral again. That's not going to last, is it? But anyway, he's decided now that he is going to do it because he wants to. Don't want to miss out.
He was applying to get his job back as being a vicar. He can't be like, oh, I don't want to do funerals. They bum me out.
Yeah, pick and choose. Yeah, I'll do the christenings. I'll do the nice bit.
Nobody gets into the vicaring game because they're like, oh, I love funerals. Oh, I want to only do funerals.
Yeah, I know.
Only funerals for tragic deaths, not old people. Who lived a great life and died surrounded by their family. Nothing beautiful like that, or people where they've sort of come to terms with the end of their lives and they've passed peacefully into the other realm. I only want people that died in blood, screaming and crying for their mothers. Please, that's the job for me.
But if you're thinking that you'd quite like that yourself, then you'd probably be snapped up.
There's probably plenty of work
calling
for you,
out for
unfortunately.
it. Yeah. Dylan later on has sobered up and he's feeling very sorry for himself as well. He can't bring Mason back now. I've got to live with it. Eileen's there too, which is quite nice. And she's trying to say, look, the Radcliffes are the ones who stabbed him. They're the ones that have robbed Mason of his future. It is not you. And
is this not what that man was saying?
Yeah, basically. Anyway,
Eileen,
Dylan's
Kevin,
miserable.
and this solicitor should start like a company for people that just judge everybody.
Sean, later on in the episode, finds out that Alia is representing the Radcliffes and has a bit of a hissy fit about it. And she's like, Sean was great in the scene. He's like very sarky about how honourable she's being about it and saying, look, I just got to take who comes. I can't help it. And on Wednesday's episode, she does meet Adam and says, look, I don't think I can represent them anymore. The only other thing that really happens here on Wednesday is Dylan goes along to the cop shop and they saying we're going to charge you with the possession of a bladed article, which, as we know, isn't looking good for him.
Well, he had it, and he gave it to them, and they killed someone.
I don't know how he's going to get out of this, or if he is, but if it's odd with Liam, because he was obviously away from the show for so long, then he came back for a little bit, then he went away for a bit, then he came back, and they literally didn't use him for a year. He's of an age now where he should be just starting to become a proper regular.
Yeah. He doesn't feel the same as the other...
He doesn't. He feels like an outsider. And we haven't seen him grow up, even though he's been, canonically a character of just living in London.
Yeah, since he was born.
Yeah. But it's funny, just in the classic Coronation Street, I think it was a week or so ago, we had the conversation between Sean and Violet saying, if we get to the age of 30 and we haven't had a kid, let's do it, let's have one together. And I think it was still a little while before they actually did.
If they hadn't done that, then Mason would still be alive.
Yep. So
it's Violet's fault.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, so if they do lock him up, weird waste of a character, really. But I just don't know how he can get out of it.
But everyone's in the hospital.
He literally did what he's been charged with doing.
Or the prison, or they work as a police officer. So it doesn't matter anymore. Like, they can have... I mean, Lauren's in prison. She's just hanging out.
Yeah.
You've got... Daniel supposedly works in the prison, so from that perspective, Dylan could be in the show, hanging out with him.
I suppose if he's a good boy there, he'll only get half of the sentence as well, maybe. Is that how it works?
I don't know.
I do wonder what's going to happen with Logan now, because he's heard about this funeral. I wonder whether he's going to maybe sneak in, a bit like Denny did at Paul's funeral, and cause a scene, and maybe Billy will see him and he doesn't know whether to rat him out.
Maybe.
Or is there going to be a big thing at the funeral? I don't know. I honestly haven't seen anything.
Don't know if there will be a funeral. I mean, the same think about Rose's funeral. They kind of went to funeral? Rose.
Oh, Rose.
They went, but we didn't see it.
Yeah. But it feels like... But I just feel like because Logan's there, and it feels like a very obvious soapy thing to do to have him turn up there, then why wouldn't they? But I haven't seen anything in the press about doing any filming at St Mary's Church, so honestly, I don't know. Maybe it's just I've not seen it or it wasn't caught. I'd kind of like there to be a funeral. Well, and at least, whenever there's usually a funeral, and we always moan about how few people there are in the congregation, at least in this one, it'd make sense if it was just 3 people that turned up.
I mean, I can see them doing a wake at the Rovers if they don't do the funeral.
The other thing about it is, would Mason want a church funeral? I don't get the idea that...
I doubt he's thought about him dying.
Probably not, but I don't think he's got a secret religious side that would prefer that, so...
We haven't been in prison long enough.
I suppose,
Rob.
I mean, just because it's Billy doing it doesn't have to be at the church, does it? It could just be something at the...
Can a vicar lead a non-religious service? I don't know.
I don't know whether they can.
I'm trying to think back there, because almost every funeral I've been to has been ended up at the creme. And I don't know whether the vicar does lead that or if someone else does. I can't remember.
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we will, won't we? But
anything that happens on Coronation Street, I don't take as real life.
I'm not expecting them to build a crematorium set. Let's just say that.
Why don't they? Honestly, at this point, they might as well.
Might as well, yeah.
That could be a good side. I'd rather watch the antics of cremation workers than more hospital.
Well, that's why we need to see more of George and Todd, really, isn't it?
Can you imagine?
What's been going on with Lauren?
Can you imagine how people kicking off if they were like, "Oh, we're going to branch out to a new side of the business. Yeah, we're going to put it in a crematorium in the back of the shop, so we can just you bring them, we burn them, whatever you like." Why not?
Yeah, it's a tall building, isn't it? There's many floors
nice
that
chimney.
you could use.
There's probably loads of unused chimney stacks around that part of.
Yeah, there are.
Salford.
Right, what's been going on with Lauren? Because we're 2.5 hours into this podcast so far. Or more, actually. 2.5 hours into Street Talk. And we haven't actually got to the big start of the trial, which, like I said earlier, I was not really relishing because it meant all Lauren's scenes, but they actually did a really good job of getting me invested in it.
Well, we've only got 2 more stories to go, so this is
the Leanne one's not much really, is it?
No, so on Wednesday, Max is telling Lauren not to worry about this trial because it's going to be fine, and Lauren's very pessimistic because she reminds us, and I'd been saying this to you and you weren't sure, that she hit Joel over the head twice.
I actually rewatched this scene again this morning. She does. There's the hit where
I know she did. I told you that.
Yeah, but it's important.
You don't need to remind me.
But a lot of this comes down to, was it self-defence or not? And
yeah.
If she hit him twice, it couldn't have surely been self-defence. But it still kind of was.
Yes, it is.
Because she hit him over the head, he went down, and then he starts running at Max again, and then she hits him. So she wasn't defending herself, but she was defending Max there. So it could well be.
Yeah, the whole thing hinges... In the show... The whole thing hinges around the fact that 2 hits isn't self-defence, but I'm going to tell you that there are lots of people that you need to hit on the head twice. Have you not seen Scream? You have to shoot them in the head when they're dead.
You've not seen Pat Phelan? He had a titanium skull.
You have to shoot these people twice. Everyone knows this.
Double tap.
Yeah, you got to. So anyway, she's like, look, I can't change my story now. I've got to stick to it. It's too late to change it. And then later on, she's talking to Max, because Max goes to visit her in the mother and baby unit. And I said, maybe it should be mother, baby, and boyfriend unit at this point.
You can move him.
But she says, maybe we shouldn't go out with each other anymore. You got your own life.
She dumps him, doesn't she?
I'm going down, and his heart breaks, and he says, I love you, Lauren, I love you. And she's like, no, Max, you hardly know me. I don't know why I'm doing so many accents today. I've had 2 ciders now, so I think it brings out the accent in you. It does.
That's probably what they'll do at Coronation Street. The actors who don't actually have the Mancunian accent.
Yeah, they sit around going,
hang on a minute, I just need to get ready in the role. Glug down a bottle of cider. Hey up, let's go, let's shoot. So.
No, I thought it was more like, they're like, oh, I'm just going to have a cider. And then Jazz like, I'm going to talk like a normal person.
What was it? I'm sure it was like a Boddington's advert or something one time.
Yes, Melanie Sykes.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not. It's that old advert which has got that's the play on the Eliza Doolittle one, and the girl's there, and
what happened?
She comes in and she's this is an advert from the 70s or something, and there's a girl there with the doctor, whatever, in the My Fair Lady, and she's speaking all plummy, and then he's getting her to drink, and I don't know what it is. I can't remember whether it was Boddington's or something else, and every time she's going, the water in Mallorca don't taste like what it ought to. Yeah, it can't be Boddington's because she got
Essex.
more cockney as it went. Yeah.
We all have funny accents, like don't we?
Yeah. I bet if they were to do a podcast about us, they'd be making fun of our voices all the time.
I want more people to make fun of our voices.
I want to know what I sound like from somebody who doesn't have my accent.
I remember when I was young, I had a pen pal. He was American, and he lived in New England, and he told me that my voice sounded like a cross between Oasis and Liz Hurley because his frame of reference was so poor. They were the only 2 people he could think of, and he knew I didn't sound like Oasis, and he knew I didn't sound like Liz Hurley, so combined was the only other option.
Yeah, when I first met you, the first thing I thought was Liz Hurley.
And then you're like, hang on, no, I can hear Liam in there somewhere as well.
Well, you did play Wonderwall for me on your guitar to try and woo me, didn't you? That was part of the courting process.
I should have played To Become One. Right, anyway. That was a side quest. Right, so Max goes and tells Bobby that we've broken up, and clearly this was great news for him. Meanwhile, there's another woman in this prison. Bree.
Like Bree Vanderkamp.
I didn't look this up, but I recognise her.
I think that she was in... I think I saw that she was in Hollyoaks or something.
I love... You know me, I'm always
You've
watching
never watched
Hollyoaks.
Hollyoaks in your life.
I do recognise her, but when I saw her, I was like, she's going to be like... I think she's going to be to Lauren like that guy was... The prison guard was to Roy.
What? The prison guard?
The prison guard when...
Not Roscoe.
Yeah, Roscoe. Like,
he wasn't a guard. He was just the other...
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, the other guy in prison. I was like, this woman is going to have some kind of significance beyond the one scene.
Well, the fact that she had a line, yeah.
Yeah, so she comes in and she's chatting away, being all friendly, and then she starts bringing up the fact that Lauren's clobbered a fit lawyer.
Yeah, she said, oh, you dumped him, did you? Well, never mind. He wasn't that great, good looking compared to that fit lawyer who clobbered over the head.
But she does not like this, Lauren, so she tells her to do one.
She tells her worse at the end of Friday's episode.
It's not the end of
We
Brie.
get the B word.
Brie. On Friday.
You stinker Brie.
On Friday, Lauren is, as you might expect, looking miserable because her trial's that about to happen.
No, because the day of the week's got a Y in it. She's looking miserable.
I know we all rag on her, but what has she ever had to smile about? This poor girl. Her whole life's been crap. Anyway, she's miserable. She's not climatised herself to the misery yet. So Max is in the cafe. You know, like when you get a goldfish and you bring them home and you have them in a bag and you put them in the tank in the water, and then you let the water become the same temperature as the bag. I'm just trying to think of an analogy for being miserable in a tiny bag and then being put into a tank of more misery, and I think that's what Lauren's life is.
It. Yeah, she's one of those sad little goldfish that just go...
Just alone in the tank going, blob, blob, give me food. Did you give me food? I forgot. Sorry, I'm a goldfish.
Right, yeah, so we got, as the trial's beginning to start, Max isn't there, is he? Because he's been ceremoniously dumped, but he's hearing about it because Shona's there, getting
Nina's
text from
her.
Nina.
Yeah, and Shona is being her usual laissez-faire self about this because she's just enjoying and revelling in the gossip, even though really this is deeply important to the Platt family.
Yeah,
because
Emma from the Corrie blog made a tweet saying much the same thing earlier about how flippant Shona was. I didn't notice because I'm just used to Shona being like that now. Shona, but you are absolutely right.
And Shona was shot in a box.
But she should have been more sensitive to Max's.
I know, but Shona's kind of forgot that she is supposed to be a real person in this world, just like she was also doing a podcast about it, like behind the cafe.
It's fine for us to be flippant about it, but come on,
we still get told off about it, don't we?
We do sometimes.
So Lauren's in court, and her barrister, who is Martha Longhurst, is trying to get her all like, look, we got to do this. We're going to do it. We're going to be all right. Remember, she gives us some advice, and I can't remember what it was. Like, don't look miserable, but don't smile.
Good luck with that one. Yeah. So this was very aptly filmed in Bolton, wasn't it? They're back to the Bolton Crown Court for Lauren Bolton's court scenes, and actually, they were there filming that, I think, the second week we were up in Manchester, and we didn't know. I found out about this a couple of weeks ago, and I think I probably would have wanted to try and drive her over to Bolton if I'd known.
That's why they didn't tell you.
That's why they didn't tell me, because they'd have known we'd have gone and stalked them there. But
we're really good at secrets. We wouldn't have told anybody.
We're totally good at secrets, yeah.
We only say afterwards.
But it's so much better when they go there rather than just using the little box room that was made up for the 60th anniversary.
Like we said earlier, don't know enough about justice system to know what is real, what's accurate and what isn't. But I pointed this out to you. In this country, in recent times, in the last year or so, it's now become a thing that judges in certain cases, which I don't know what they are, high court, whatever, I don't know, they read the verdict out and it's filmed and shown on the news, which never happened.
No, we didn't have courts on TV in this country.
Nothing's ever been televised from a court in this country ever. And so this is like a new thing where they show that the judge is basically going, you're very naughty, you're going to go to prison for 10 years or whatever.
So you were hoping for there to be that in Lauren's trial?
I really wonder whether... number one, I would love them to film it like that really is... It's really a real court case and release it on social media in the same way that they do on the news. But number two, I am wondering, is this a sort of case where they would even have that?
Well, they made out that it was quite a big...
Because of what you said about it being in this courtroom.
Well, yeah, and also, I can't remember who it was mentioning it in this week's episodes, but people saying, "Oh yeah, I know who Lauren Bolton is. She made the local and national news." So in the world of Coronation Street, this was huge news, and so people would be clamouring to find out. But yeah, maybe at some point in the future they'll be able to have people on Coronation Street in the cafe or in the Rovers or whatever finding out the verdict
by watching
from afar.
It. I don't know if they stream it live when they.
Oh yeah, that's true. It probably might not be streamed live.
But I know that
the verdicts.
I remember the first time it happened. And it was like it's a massive thing because this has never happened.
Press the red button to see Lauren's verdict.
Yeah. So Gaston and Anthea are there.
Oh yes.
Were very disapproving.
Joel's. They didn't say anything, did they? They were just looking down on her, literally.
The trial starts. The jury gets told about what happened by the prosecution, and it's a man.
This was a man, yes.
Typical man, isn't it?
Yeah, he was saying Joel may be painted in the as a wrong un, but at the end of the day, and he did do many wrong things, but at the end of the day, getting revenge on him is no justification for murder.
He's like, look, we've all shagged around, we've all had women, we've all kidnapped them, we've all tried to beat them to death, but you can't just kill men for that. There'll be none of us left.
I think it's just really kind of wobbly what this case is built on, because murder to me feels a bit more premeditated and purposeful, and it literally was. If you watch it as it was, she was trying to protect Max, and I don't think that should count as murder. I desperately would like her to be sent down, but I don't think she will be. But because
overcharged,
I think she's been overcharged. I do.
One of these days, I would like to see a proper trial on Corrie, because I've watched programs that are just trials, and they're really fascinating. And I think Coronation Street could do it.
What, have a whole episode that's...
a week. I know everyone would hate it, but I would love it. But like, seriously, it would be... Do you not think it would be fascinating if we didn't see... If there was a crime on Coronation Street and you built up all of the different characters and then you didn't see what happened, and then they went to a trial they had a week of like, okay, well, let's call...
That would be really interesting. You didn't actually see the moment of the crime, and we as the viewers had to piece together whether we thought they were guilty or innocent based on the evidence. Yeah.
That would be fun.
That would be it. Kate Brooks, there you go. You can have that one for free.
Phone her up.
That's non-linear. Well, that's pretty linear, to be honest.
That's fairly chronological, yeah. Right, so...
Anyway. If it had a flashback at the end to see who was right, then...
We have to have at the end, you tell me whether we're right or wrong, otherwise I'll go mad.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I find trials really fascinating, and the whole mechanism of the trial is interesting too, because we know what happened, but, you know, the justice system is a completely different place. And so, you know, what the guy is saying here is that Joel Deering's not on trial is completely true. Lauren Bolton's on trial.
Yeah.
And we know, I don't know if we're going to get to see it, but we know that her background is going to be brought up, her dad and all of that, you know, what happened there. That's going to really undermine her. Yeah. So it is interesting.
So speaking of which,
So the word interesting about 3 times.
Reese is at Highfield Prison, isn't he?
Yeah.
I wonder how many characters could pop up in the background
there must be
of
loads
Rob's
of them.
Scenes at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
So later on, we get the pathologist, and he's on the stand, and he's being grilled.
Yeah, I liked him, but he's made a mistake. He's gonna... This could be Lauren getting out on a technicality like Tracy.
But you see how this is really fascinating, but this was such a small part of the show. I'd love this to be more focused on.
So what he says...
Joel had 3 blows to the head, 2 from a blunt object and 1 when he hit the water. I'm going to argue he had more than that because he was hit in the face by Dee Dee. But the prosecution is like, okay, so remember, Lauren Bolton said that she hit him once, and now you're saying that you've got 3 blows to the head. And then Lauren's lawyer, Martha Longhurst, comes up and says, you said originally there was only 1 blow to the back of the head, and then you changed your story and said there were 2, but they were just both in close proximity. Is that right or not? And the guy's like, well, I made a mistake. And she's like, oh, maybe you're an idiot.
Basically, she just makes him look like he doesn't know what he's doing. And she was brilliant. As much as I'm fighting for Lauren to be sent down on this, I was definitely championing her lawyer, at least, in yesterday's episode.
I mean, I've spoken quite a lot before on the podcast about when I did watch a murder trial when I was working as a journalist for a local paper. And there was a witness who was made to look like an absolute idiot, ripped to pieces, and all he did was say he saw somebody walking around and he couldn't remember exactly when it was, and so he was totally eviscerated on the stand, and I felt so bad for him by the defence lawyer. And so this is the sort of thing they do. They just rip you to pieces.
Yeah,
they don't care. They all they want is to get that's their job.
I do like it when they give them a bit of personality though, because you can rip someone to pieces, or you can rip someone to pieces with glee, and that was what this woman was.
This lady was fantastic. I want her to represent me when I do my murder. Right. So Kit's being asked later on about whether he thinks, what he thinks about Lauren's actions and his professional opinion.
Yeah, it was whether did she plot to kill Joel? Did she go after him?
Yeah, he's on the stand.
And they are absolutely right. What was it that led Max and Lauren to go and see Joel?
I can't remember now.
Was it that did they just see where he was on the track? I think if I'm remembering rightly, what they're describing is actually what happened.
He went missing because he was supposed to appear in court, and he went missing, and then Dee Dee was looking for him.
Oh, they do. Lauren finds out where he is because when he's leaving his voice message to Dee Dee, that's when his phone kind of pings on. And so Lauren literally does say, "Let's go and hunt him down." Although they didn't go there with the intention of killing him, did they? They wanted to just find out where he was.
But we said that. I think we said this at the time. A reasonable person would have to then ask themselves, for what purpose were you going there?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a violent confrontation, what actually was it? And given the history of both these people... Because the thing about Lauren, too, is that she doesn't have a criminal history, whereas Max does, but you're not allowed to bring it up in court anyway.
Yeah. So he was at the time... Was he trying to go after Frankie still?
She threatened her.
Yeah.
And Frankie.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Anyway, Kit's being asked about this, and, she hunted Joel down, she had a tracker app. Kit says, Lauren, yes, she was looking for him, and she also didn't tell anybody what happened after she killed him, and she tried to cover up and make it look like a suicide.
All very true.
Yeah. And so...
Not looking good.
So Martha Longhurst with Lauren later is going, yeah, this is looking really difficult. You need to tell the truth, though. Did you hit Joel twice?
Nope. No. Yeah.
It kind of is bothering me.
She's lying.
The whole case seems to be hinging on this
it feels
kind
a bit
of arbitrary
simple
question of whether she hit him twice, because...
Well, it is also about whether she tracked him down, otherwise they wouldn't have had that scene with Kit. But you're right, it feels like it's just going to come down to, we don't know, we can't tell exactly how many times that she hit him, so... I
really am confused about the law then, because do you remember when we had all the stuff with Seb, and... I said that Kelly should really be as guilty as Corey. And there was a case in real life where a couple were in a park and they goaded somebody who then later killed somebody. And just the goading was enough to make them as culpable as the person who actually did the crime. So in that context of what the law says about how culpable you are, if you put yourself in a situation whereby you're violently confronting somebody and they die, are you not as guilty as you would have been?
I don't know.
This is why I'm
sure that Coronation Street will be 100% accurate.
But this is why it's really hard to be on a jury, isn't it? Because you've got to know what the law is.
Yeah.
Because instinctually, we all know what we think about whether Lauren's guilty or not, don't we? Morality is not law.
I'm just tied up in the fact that I just don't get on with Lauren's character, and if I try and divorce myself from that, I totally get that she was trying to protect Max in both times.
If she doesn't get sent down with this, though, she has got away with murder, because if
No,
her
she's not
lawyer,
got away with murder. She's got away with killing someone to try and protect her friend.
but her lawyer's saying, did you hit him twice? Because this is the most important question. And if you did only hit him once, then you're not guilty. If you hit him twice, then you are. But she did hit him twice. Therefore, in the world of the show, she is actually guilty. And if she doesn't get sent down, she's got away with it.
Yeah.
And we used to say on Coronation Street, there was always this unwritten rule that you will be punished. Soap justice will get you in the end. But in the last 5-10 years, they've really gotten rid of that. And now
it's a goodie that does something bad. And I think Lauren is a goodie.
But yeah, that's the other question. Do we think Lauren's a goodie?
Yeah, they're trying to get to so much
Despite
sympathy
all
for
evidence
her.
to the contrary. Yes, apparently she is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I just think, like, if she stays on the street, what's she going to do?
I know.
Is she going to be a friend to Nina? Is she going to be Dee Dee? I don't know.
She's not got a lot going for her at the moment.
No.
Anyway, in the cell later, Lauren's cellmate,
Bree,
tells her that she's getting out of there and rubs it in her face like, oh, you're going to be an old bag by the time you get out. Frankie's not going to be brought up by you. You're a murdering skank. And then Lauren attacks her and says, I'm going to kill you, you mouthy bitch, which is not at all what you should be saying if you're on trial for murder.
No.
The guard comes in.
Made us sound like a bit
and
mad,
I also,
really.
I don't understand how this works either. This must happen all the time in prison, because you'd think the guard would be like, well, I have to report this because you threatened her life and you're on trial and this is an extra layer of your character.
I'm sure, I can't remember, there's been storylines before where people have been accused of something and the police or whoever has said, but you did threaten to kill them, and it's been like, that's just an expression, isn't it?
That's what I just say, like, I'll kill you, you mouthy bitch. Everyone knows.
Anyway,
popular saying.
I've got no clue how long this trial is going to go on for, but I'm imagining by this time next week it's going to be over, don't you think?
I know, but the sad
I can't
thing
see it
is,
dragging out any longer than that. There's only so much to talk about, really. Wouldn't surprise me if Monday there's a verdict.
I think I just want her to go to prison.
I know. Got nothing else to say other than that. Sorry, Lauren fans. Leanne. So there's just a little bit of a continuation of the Leanne, Nick, Sam stuff, which is basically a bunch of, well, Nick and Leanne sniping at each other in the street. Nick wants Sam to join a rugby club. I think he wants to make a real man out of him and get him away from all those textbooks and telescopes. But Leanne's like, look, if he doesn't want to do that, come to the cafe with me, Sam. We'll have a drink. And Sam's getting mightily fed up of these two loggerheads with each other, and so much so that in the cafe later, when Leanne is joining in for a milkshake, Sam makes up a text from Nick saying come home. I don't think we know in that scene that it's made up, do we? It's revealed later.
No, he says I've got to go home for my dinner, and she's like, I don't believe you.
She says, I wonder who's cooked tonight. Is it Kermit or Miss Piggy?
If anyone's Miss Piggy, it's Leanne.
I know. And then she starts going off on a rant, doesn't she, about, I'm Toya, eat your greens, do your best, do your work. It's brilliant. And by the time she's finished on her rant, Sam's already out the door.
She was so magnificent in this scene. I just thought absolute top form for Leanne.
Anyone who hates Leanne was probably throwing things at their TV for that, but I found it out. As a Toya fan, even for having her making fun of her was brilliant. So Tracy joins Leanne in the pub later, saying, "Who's wazzed on your chips?" Because Leanne's looking a bit sad because she's found out that Sam was actually trying to get rid of her earlier. And Leanne's just like, everything's rubbish at the moment. And Tracy says, "No, look, this is a good thing. You're single. You're relatively young. You scrub up well when you make the effort." So they have a drink together, and Leanne looks suitably buoyed by the end of the episode. She goes to the bar and's like, "Yeah.
I am. Yeah. I can scrub up.
I am relatively young." So, just this Leanne and Tracy pairing it feels like it's still skirting on the edge of being something really fun. Every time they're in a scene together, it's great, but I don't know whether it's, ships that pass in the night, have a little bit of a bitchy session together, or whether they're actually building this into a proper duo. I'm not sure.
Oh, there's so much potential.
Yeah, there really, really is.
Especially considering, too, that Tracy's daughter, Amy, not that long ago, was a master vigilante trying to murder men and dump their bodies in the river. There's so much potential here for some kind of, local crime syndicate made of really annoyed women who are done with all this crap.
Well, maybe Swain could be part of that, to be honest.
Well,
she could be the double agent, couldn't she?
She could go around robbing kidneys.
Yeah. Speaking of which...
robbing a kidney.
What?
This should be the storyline title.
That could be, isn't it? Okay. That's everything that happened in Corrie. I don't know why it took so long, especially it wasn't as big a week as last week, but I think we spent longer talking about this week than we did the whole knifey week last week. I really, after the incredibly ropey start with that shoddy as you like hostage situation on Monday, it really picked up the pace, particularly with the love triangles bits on Wednesday, and the trial really gripped me on Friday as well. I enjoyed. As sad as it was, I did quite enjoy the Webster story. It was a good week.
Good.
I'm gonna give this week 4 signed photos of Kevin's balls out of 5. I thought it was good. Good.
Okay. 4. You said 4?
Yeah. It was low 4 if you can do that. But I'm sticking by it. I was entertained.
There were some highlights this week, but I think I can only give it. I was going to give it a 3.
You can give it a 3 if you want.
But I think it maybe deserves a 3.5.
Well, look, because we're recording this late, I've already started to see people voting on our Facebook group, and the scores are all over the place for this week so far. So don't feel bad. Someone's going to agree with you.
I'm going to give it 3.5 times that Bobby's head was smashed into the desk in the prison.
Dumb.
And what's your character of the week?
Ooh,
Didn't think of that, did you?
No, I didn't think of that. You can't. You're not going to give it to Martha Longhurst.
Martha Longhurst, yeah. The
She
spirit
was a real
inhabited.
highlight. You do
I
Martha
loved her
Longhurst
so
and I
much.
do Duck.
Yeah, Martha Longhurst.
No, I'm. Oh, it's really difficult.
Who was in it?
Abby, Seb,
Daisy,
Daniel,
Smala, Bethany,
Cassie was a lot of fun.
Betsy.
It was a real kind of
Kevin.
all round good effort. I might be Debbie. She was
Debbie.
amazing. Just in those few
Abby,
scenes that she was
Seb.
in. Abby was a bit miserable, and I know that I said earlier that I don't want to do her down for being miserable, but
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to give it to Martha Longhurst. I know that that's a cop-out, but I just...
What was that
really
character's
delighted
name,
her.
Gemma?
No, that's the name of the actress.
Yeah.
Tor
Tor something or other, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna go
Moya Wadsworth. Which sounds
is
a
the
bit
character's
like
name.
Martha Longhurst if you're drunk.
Debbie for me. Fantastic. Right, that's it.